Good morning, everybody, and would you please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance? I pledge
allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Yeah, here we go. All right, well, welcome everybody to the June 7th, 2022 Board of County Commissioners meeting. First thing we have on our agenda are the minutes. Gentlemen, do we have any additions, corrections?
I don't have any.
I don't have any. I would move that we approve the proceeding of the Board of Commissioners of Montezuma County, May 24th, 2022.
Second.
Okay, it's been moved and seconded to accept the proceedings of the Board of Commissioners, Montezuma County, May 24th, 2022. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
All right, and the next thing we have up is planning. So, Mr. Haley and Ms. Duncan, come on down. And the first thing we have is a public hearing. So, Kim, would you call the roll, please?
Commissioner Candelaria.
Here.
Commissioner Lindsay.
Here.
Commissioner Copenhaver.
Here.
Administrator Powers.
Here.
Attorney McLaren.
Here.
And Kim Purcell, Montezuma County Clerk and Recorder. Notice is hereby given that the Montezuma County Board of County Commissioners will hold a public hearing for review and determination of a 2-lot minor subdivision application submitted by Peter Magielnicki, I'm sure, sorry, on property located at 43175 Road in Mancos, Colorado, consisting of 32.37 acres, more or less, located west of Road 42, situated in Section 2, Township 36 North, Range 13 West, N.M.P.M. The hearing will be held Tuesday, June 7th, 2022 at 9 a.m. in the Commissioners' Hearing Room, Montezuma County Administrative Offices, 109 West Main, Cortez, Colorado. Interested persons may attend and give input. Information may be obtained from the Planning Office online services at https://co-montezuma-co.smartgovcommunity.com public home. You may also contact the Planning Department at 970-565-2801 with questions. Dated this 17th day of May, 2022, Kim Purcell, Clerk, Board of County Commissioners, Montezuma County, Colorado. Published in the Journal on Wednesday, May 25th, 2022.
Okay, thank you, Kim. Do we have the applicants here?
Yes.
You can also come on down.
Good morning, how are
Good
you?
morning.
So the applicants are proposing to split their property in half. It's already got a red signed extension of road in through the middle of it, and that's just the boundary that they're proposing to use. There's a residence on the north and vacant property on the south, what would be the south parcel that's being created.
Okay, that's pretty straightforward. Would you like to say anything?
Unless you have questions, now it's naturally divided by the unmaintained County Road N.
Right. Okay. All right. Well then, Commissioners, before I open this up, do you have any questions right now?
I don't have any.
Okay. All right. Well, seeing no questions for the Commission right now, I'm going to open this public hearing up for public comment. Anybody wishing to speak for or against this application, please come forward to the podium, state your name and address for the record, and you may address the board. Okay, seeing none, I will close the public comment session and bring it back to the Commissioners. Gentlemen, any questions for the applicants?
How many residents are on past your property on that red signed in road?
When you say there's the minor subdivide, there's 0 structures on the south side of Road N, and there's 3 buildings if you count a garage.
Which would be to the east?
The north side, if you can see, there you go, with the satellite image. But 2 structures and a garage.
So that's where your 2 septic systems come into play on that?
Correct,
Okay.
correct. I have no plans to build on the south side.
Okay.
I don't have any problem.
Okay, well then, what's your pleasure?
I would so move we approve the 2-lot minor subdivision application submitted by Peter.
Magielnicki.
There we go.
There we go. Sorry, Kim.
On property located at 43175 Road N, Mancos, Colorado.
Second.
Okay, it's been moved and seconded to accept a 2-lot minor subdivision application submitted by Peter Magielnicki on property located at 43175 Road N, Mancos, Colorado, consisting of 32.37 acres more or less located west of Road 42. Any further discussion?
No.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Okay, sir, there you go.
Thank you, folks.
Have a great day. And I will also close this public hearing. Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, it is not
9:06.
quite 9:10. That was quick and easy.
It is getting hot in here. Maybe it's the coffee.
That's what happens when you're short time.
That's what happens. Ian, let's go down to your report and let's start there. We'll kind of fill in some time until we get to 9:10.
So I think the biggest part of my report, we have been working on the NCA, National Conservation Area for the Lower Dolores River. I think we're going to take that up later under unfinished business, but I think we've come to a point where we at least have a draft proposal that the working group has agreed on. You guys did see that yesterday, and so that's where we're at with that. Other than that, I don't really have anything to report.
Okay. All right, very
Did-
good.
Did you just want to do that letter right now?
We certainly could. I distributed it this morning. We don't have to sign this letter today. There's going to be a meeting tomorrow with the San Juan Basin Conservation District to run through this. I think the hope was that if Montezuma County wants to get on board with the NCA legislation, that they would prior to tomorrow's meeting. I did draft this letter for you guys. If you're comfortable with the language, you can certainly sign it, but
I think it was kind of agreed upon yesterday when we left our workshop that we would wait until that meeting happens
Yeah.
and see to make sure that everybody is collectively on board. And if it is, then we'll sign this next Tuesday.
okay.
So
So
that-
I think that's sufficient. I guess the information that Commissioner Copenhaver and I probably need from the board is whether, at this point, you guys feel comfortable moving ahead with the NCA proposal. I mean,
Well,
it's on the
there's
table,
also
so-
no reason we can't sign it today. I mean, after that presentation yesterday, I'm comfortable with the
I
language that
think-
you guys have, so,
I personally, unless Ken has a problem with it.
No, huh?
Yeah.
okay, well, then we can
I would just,
sign this
I would just
today.
look through the letter and just make sure you're comfortable with all the language in it.
Okay.
So I could get through the letter real quick. Dear Senator Bennett, we are writing to show support for the proposal of the National Conservation Area, NCA, along the Lower Dolores River. The proposal is the result of a long-standing collaborative effort to protect the Dolores River in the interest of the various stakeholders that it serves, including water users, agricultural entities, local governments, OHV users, conservation groups, and recreationalists. In crafting the NCA proposal, Montezuma County, San Miguel County, Dolores County, and other partners sought to address a myriad of concerns, including those arising from the finding that the Dolores River is suitable for designation under the Wild and Scenic Rivers Act. It is the position of Montezuma County that designating the Dolores River as wild and scenic would result in significant consequences for water users and other groups seeking to access natural resources along the river corridor. By supporting the proposal for an NCA, it is Montezuma County's intent to ensure that portions of the Lower Dolores River that run through Montezuma, Dolores, and San Miguel counties will not be designated as wild and scenic, and it is our position that the NCA proposal sets forth an acceptable compromise between the various stakeholders interested in utilizing water and land resources in and along the Dolores River. We appreciate the time and effort that working groups have, spent developing the current NCA proposal. Whoops, get my fingers in the right spot. Spent developing the current NCA proposal. Montezuma County joins with Dolores County and San Miguel County in asking that you introduce legislation reflecting the recommendations contained in the NCA proposal, and we stand ready to work with your office to see such legislation enacted into law. Sincerely.
Okay, any further discussion, gentlemen?
No.
Okay.
No, I think this is a good thing for Montezuma County to remove that wild and scenic suitability off of the river, because this legislation will actually remove the wild and scenic and remove that Lower Dolores from further study as in the Wild and Scenic Rivers Act into the future. Our main concern with the water users is that you have these outstanding remarkable values with the wild and scenic down there, and if they could possibly take water out of McPhee to meet that to keep those outstanding remarkable values there. So our feeling is by doing this into the future, we're helping the water supply within this area to stay in our area.
And I'd like to give a personal shout of gratitude to Attorney McLaren and Commissioner Copenhafer. I know that sometimes these negotiations got a little hot-blooded, but they were able to finally get in the definition for unreasonably diminished for that had previously just been left undefined, and I think that's critical for making sure that we get what we're after in this, and they also got the language in there to protect the small-scale water users upriver from that type of language. So thank you to the two of you for that.
I move that we sign this letter of support for the Lower Dolores National Conservation Area to Senator Bennett.
Second.
Okay, it's been moved and seconded to sign the letter of support in regards to the Lower Dolores River National Conservation Area and sent to U.S. Senator Michael Bennett in his office. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Sign that one too, Joe. We'll have one for Cameron.
It's been amended.
This is the letter we want to sign, this just took out that typo at the bottom.
Oh, okay. Okay, now we are past our 9:10, and we have another public hearing. Kim, would you call the roll, please?
Commissioner Candelaria.
Here.
Commissioner Lindsey.
Here.
Commissioner Copenhafer.
Here.
Administrator Powers.
Here.
Attorney McLaren.
Here.
And Kim Purcell, Montezuma County Clerk and Recorder. Notice is hereby given that the Montezuma County Board of County Commissioners will hold a public hearing for a review and determination of a proposed amendment to the Duehrssen Subdivision submitted by David Brandos on property located at 20865 Road 23.75 Lewis, Colorado, consisting of 17.83 acres, more or less, located south of Road X, east of Road 23, situated in Section 33, Township 38 North, Range 16 West, N.M.P.M. The hearing will be held Tuesday, June 7th, 2022 at 9:10 a.m. in the Commissioners' Hearing Room, Montezuma County Administrative Offices, 109 West Main, Cortez, Colorado. Interested persons may attend and give input. Information may be obtained from the Planning Office online services at https://montezuma-co.smartgovcommunity.com public home. You may also contact the Planning Department at 970-565-2801 with questions. dated the 17th day of May, 2022, Kim Purcell Clerk, Board of County Commissioners, Montezuma County, Colorado, published in the Journal on Wednesday, May 25th, 2022. And sorry if I messed up that name.
Thank you, Kim. Do we have the applicants here?
Mr. Cheever? Yeah, Eric Cheever is here as his representative. Mr. Brandos is out of town.
Okay. All right, good morning and welcome. You want to go ahead and give us an overview now, Don?
Sure, and I'd also like to clarify that there would be rezoning with these two lot splits. This originally was a 10-lot, single-lot development, roughly where the 11 acres is. Then it was amended, and 7 acres was added on the west side to give it the 17 plus or minus acres. And now the new owner, Mr. Brandos, is wishing to split that back more or less where it was before, to have a 2-lot instead of a single lot. So this will be the second amendment to the Duehrssen subdivision, but the residence is there on the east parcel. Vacant land on the west side, I believe. That's basically it.
So do you have obviously the canal goes through there, and it looks like you have access across the canal on 23.75 road or whatever that number is. What's the acreage between the canal? Because what I see coming up here is that this is going to get possibly in the future being sold, and then there's a natural delineation of that canal, and then that's going to be, is it over 3 acres or is it under 3 acres, is my question.
We're over 3 acres.
From the canal.
Yeah, everything's over 3 acres, yeah, so.
Right, but in the future from the
that lower
canal.
portion there?
Right, because I can see that coming back to us in the future, saying that we have access off of 23.75 road. We have a distinct delineation with the canal, and it's going to become another one of these lots that we get in front of us all the time. So as long as it stays the 11.34 acres, I don't have an issue with it.
To my knowledge, there's no intent for.
I understand there's no intent today, but my concern is, what is that acreage and what is it?
I don't know without being pulled the GIS.
I don't know, I'd say it's probably 2.5 acres, depending on what the right-of-way is for the canal.
Right, which then is gonna bring forth another non-compliance or non-conforming lot.
No.
If in the future,
If they want it split off as an exemption because of the canal, it doesn't have to meet the 3 acre
Right.
minimum. That's just part of the state statute.
so that's my question.
And Don, you said that there's a request for rezoning here, is that right?
Correct.
Okay, and
Well,
what is the rezoning that's happening?
AR 339.
It's AR 10 to 34
Okay,
is how it was rezoned once that property was joined and amended.
And now it's gotta go back.
And if,
I'm a bit concerned because nothing
it's
in the
not-
application discusses the rezoning request, and there's nothing in the public notice that discusses rezoning. My recommendation would be at this point that we table this and public notice it correctly, because I think if we don't, we could have problems in the future.
either that or we can just leave off the rezoning part of that. It's still just gonna be AR property.
But
But
isn't
shouldn't
it zoned?
The 10 to 34 covers the east residential property. I guess the only question would be the 6.5 acres.
Yeah, I don't think that would be proper, given that it's 6 acres and it's zoned 10 to
34.
Yep.
We could do that, but there's hundreds of properties that are zoned like that in the county
I
from
think-
this type of scenario, so it's whatever.
My recommendation
do.
would be just to protect the property owners more than anything, that we do this right. I mean,
To rezone
yeah,
it.
we would hate to approve this with a subdivision that's contrary to the zoning on the property, and then have it come back and get somehow questioned later in the future. I think it's probably in the best interest of the property owner that we do the whole thing.
Okay. And then the only other question that I had is access to the 6.49 acres. I mean, obviously, this is not a plat, but I would assume that you're going on that, I'll call it a northern boundary line? Is that right there?
Right.
I mean,
Yeah, the driveway, everything splits off at 23.75 there at the pond, and so that access would go across the north.
So it historically was 2 parcels, so there's already a permitted, on that upper would be the 6.49, there's a permitted septic already, electrical, and there's historical utility easements across that northern boundary of 60 feet. So we're just going back to what,
right.
before the previous property owner had bought the adjoining, it was 6 whatever, and combined it was.
When was the original property, when was it originally split? I mean, when was this original amendment made?
I think the original was in '08, maybe?
And
And
how
then
was
in
it,
17, it was amended.
how was it zoned prior to amendment? I mean, did the zoning get amended in, you said 2017?
No, because it would have been 10 acres then, so it should have been AR 10 to 34 prior to adding the 7 acres to it. The only reason it would have to be rezoned now is to cover the 6.5 acres. Because the 11 acre lot was a 10 acre, it's always been AR 10 to 34.
When it was
And so
originally,
prior to amendment, there was 2 10-acre lots, is there?
It was just a 10 acre lot.
Okay.
And then the neighbor to the south, sold them the property, split it off, I believe, with an exemption. I don't know, I didn't look that far into it. And added the 7 acres to the 10 acres, and it was all combined as one lot, still AR 10 to 34 in 2017.
You know, I think we need to
I get what you're saying.
get the zoning right, because I think ultimately, you know, if this somehow came back, I think ultimately the property owner would be the person that would suffer. And I think doing it right now here at the forefront and getting that rezoning done correctly is ultimately gonna be better for everybody involved.
Okay.
yeah,
Gentlemen,
you need a motion
Do you
to
agree?
continue this?
I think we do, well, I think
Until-
we need to not only continue it, but to republish it so that the
Yeah.
rezoning application is in the content of the publishing.
Yeah, I think one way you could certainly do it would be to continue the application for the subdivision and then just amend the application to reflect the rezoning
The
request.
rezoning.
That would probably be, but you're still gonna have to public notice the
The packets
Yeah,
in the
Yeah.
paper.
exactly, yeah.
Correct.
Do you kind of have a tentative date, Don, that would work?
Let's do July the 5th. Let's put that at 9:10 a.m.
I would
Okay.
move we continue this till July 5th, 9:10 a.m., and also republic notice for the zoning.
Second.
Okay, it's been moved and seconded to continue this public hearing to July 5th, 2022 at 9:10 a.m. With the publication of adding the rezoning to the application. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Okay,
Thank you.
thank you.
Thank you.
All right, well, that one is continued, so we'll go to the 9:20 a.m. Kim, would you call the roll, please?
Commissioner Candelaria,
Here. Here.
Commissioner Lindsey,
Here.
Commissioner Copenhaver,
Here.
Administrator Powers,
Here.
Attorney McLaren,
Here.
and Kim Purcell, Montezuma County Clerk and Recorder. Notice is hereby given that the Montezuma County Board of County Commissioners will hold a public hearing for a review and determination of a proposed 10-lot major subdivision and rezoning application submitted by Wes and Rebecca Jones on property located at to be determined Road 26, Dolores, Colorado, consisting of 35.81 acres more or less, located south of Highway 184, west of Road 26, situated in Section 11, Township 37 North, Range 16 West, N.M.P.M. The hearing will be held Tuesday, June 7th, 2022 at 9:20 a.m. in the Commissioners' Hearing Room, Montezuma County Administrative Offices, 109 West Main, Cortez, Colorado. Interested persons may attend and give input. Information may be obtained from the Planning Office online services at https://co-montezuma-co.smartgovcommunity.com public home. You may also contact the Planning Department at 970-565-2801 with questions. Dated the 17th day of May, 2022, Kim Purcell Clerk, Board of County Commissioners, Montezuma County, Colorado, published in the Journal on Wednesday, May 25th, 2022.
Okay, thank you, Kim. Do we have the applicants here? Don?
I do not see them.
Okay. Well, we can still continue without them, so would you go ahead and give us the overview?
Yes, the applicants are proposing a 10-lot subdivision on County Road 26. The property has a tri-state power line easement through the southern half of the subdivision, delimited by the yellow hash lines. They've got road and bridges checked for driveway access. It probably will not be where it's shown there. It would probably be moved to the north. But Rob had no problem with access there. With a survey and with the draw there, they may be eliminating a lot and converting that to nine lots, 8 at a minimum, if it doesn't work to fit all 10 lots in there with the survey and the property bounds. But
So- Okay.
yeah, the fire protection district did not have any issues with the access, the cul-de-sac. Planning and zoning was unanimous to recommend it for approval with one condition, that the covenants allow only 1 residence per lot, and that if the survey and the draw there do not allow for 10 lots, that the lots be reconfigured to make each one a little bit larger, rather it be 8 or 9 based on the survey and the access road being moved slightly to the north.
What's the timeline for the survey? Is that in progress, or where are we at with that?
Yeah, they're on the schedule. I don't know if they have a date yet set.
So this draw must be relatively deep to be having to move the road, or
Right,
to move, I guess,
Yeah,
to the upper part of that plat.
right.
So
So they're gonna have to put in a large culvert no matter what, but yeah, they don't wanna have to try and put an 8-foot culvert in or something.
so the lot to the bottom of that is probably on,
Yeah, the
That's-
southeast corner lot probably is gonna disappear, I would guess, and the configuration there on the northeast lot probably will change with the road access.
okay.
I guess I'm a little bit concerned. I mean, the ask today is a 10-lot subdivision, and it sounds like that's not set in stone yet. And so, I mean, we can approve a 10-lot today, but if the survey comes back and says this isn't gonna be a 10-lot, then they're gonna be in a position where we approve a 10-lot, and then they're gonna have to come back and
To an 8-lot.
and amend it. I mean, I'm wondering whether it would make some sense to continue this, wait on the survey, see exactly what it is we're dealing with, before we move forward. And the other option would be you guys could certainly, I guess you could approve it contingent on, if the survey comes back, then you can go to an 8 lot, but I think it's just gonna be a little bit messier, because, here we've got our sketch.
Right.
It's 10 lot, and then if we go to an 8 lot, then, they're gonna be back in here asking for an amendment here pretty quick.
Right,
Okay.
so I don't know if you can do it with the contingency on, it's a maximum 10 lots.
I would agree. I think a contingency in there, let's just get the survey, let's just get it done up front, and let's figure out what we're actually dealing with, because if it's only 8 lots, then it's 8 lots because of the, you know,
Topography.
the topography. We're not gonna change that, so, yeah, let's just do it right up front, and then we don't have to deal with it.
Yeah, if we're
the
changing
backside.
access points and we're changing lot sizes, I mean, let's get
Because
it all
what
set.
we'd be looking at today and approving is not gonna be what's in front of us.
Is probably not gonna be the final.
So I would
Survey.
agree
Okay.
with our attorney. Gentlemen, thoughts?
Yeah, I think we ought to get it, make sure what we got there, when we approve it, we need to approve what's there. Not,
Fair enough.
not what possibly could be there, but what we're really gonna have when we get done.
Right, okay.
Okay. Do you have a date in mind for this, or just want to go TBD to give them enough time? I don't know what they're,
Let's go TBD, because I do not know what the surveyors, if they've got them with a date penciled in or just on the list of to-do.
okay,
Let's do TBD, because I
Okay.
can't make that prediction, and I hate to just
sure, it could
continue it
be
again.
2 months before they get us a real,
Right,
because this is just a sketch plan then. This is not the actual survey at all.
correct.
Okay.
As those lots to the north, are they, how big are they?
3 acres.
3 acres too? Okay.
Yeah, if it goes to 8 lots, they're just going to increase in size.
Correct.
Yeah, okay. Yeah, it'd be better if we can get the whole thing done,
Fair
it would
enough.
be better.
Okay.
Would you like to go ahead and,
I move that we continue this public hearing until a time to be determined when the survey is finished, so we can know the exact number of lots in this project.
Second.
okay, it's moved and seconded that we continue this proposal for the subdivision and rezoning application submitted by Wes and Rebecca Jones on property located TBD Road 26, so that we have the actual survey and the time to be determined later. All those in favor?
Aye.
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 Thank you.
Yep. Okay. All right, now we're moving on to 9:30. We are on time, so we have another public hearing. Kim, would you call the roll, please?
Commissioner Candelaria,
Here.
Commissioner Lindsey,
Here.
Commissioner Copenhaver,
Here.
Administrator Powers,
Here.
Attorney McLaren.
Here.
Notice is hereby given that the Montezuma County Board of County Commissioners will hold a public hearing for review and determination of a proposed subdivision amendment and rezoning application for lot number 5 of Rolf's Ranch subdivision, submitted by Judy and Paul Mead on property located at 25408 Road S.6, Dolores, Colorado, consisting of 36.19 acres, more or less, located south of Highway 184, east of Road 25, situated in Section 23, Township 37 North, Range 16 West, N.M.P.M. The hearing will be held Tuesday, June 7th, 2022 at 9:30 a.m. in the Commissioners' Hearing Room, Montezuma County Administrative Offices, 109 West Main, Cortez, Colorado. Interested persons may attend and give input. Information may be obtained from the Planning Office online services at https://co-montezuma-co.smartgovcommunity.com, public home. You may also contact the Planning Department at 970-565-2801 with questions. Dated this 20th day of May, 2022, Kim Purcell Clerk, Board of County Commissioners, Montezuma County, Colorado, published in the Journal on Wednesday, May 25th, 2022.
All right, thank you, Kim. Do we have the applicants here, Don?
We're representing my mom and dad, stepdad.
Okay, you can come forward, please. Okay,
So the applicants are proposing to split off roughly 10 acres of the northeast corner of their existing lot in the Rolfs Ranches subdivision. Is there another map there, Shaq? There, so, yeah, S.6 and S.7 kind of jog down through the middle of it. There's an existing mobile home on the property. So all utilities are in place, nothing's gonna change there. That's the existing main house, that will remain on the other 26 acres, more or less. Planning and zoning, unanimous to recommend it for approval with no conditions.
okay. Questions, gentlemen?
No,
Okay.
right now.
Would you like to offer anything? Not at this time? Okay. All right, well, at this time, then I will open this up for public comment. Anybody wishing to speak for or against this application, please come forward, and you may address the board. State your name and address for the record, please.
My name is Mike Upchurch,
Come on up to the,
and I have a property adjacent to that property, which I have no problem with this at all. But
Sir,
I'm right there.
sir,
Oh, okay,
you need to give your,
okay.
you need to start with the
I thought
mic.
everybody could hear me. I got
Well,
a big
it's for the
voice.
people on YouTube, sir. It's
What's
for
that?
it's for the people listening on YouTube.
Okay, good,
Thank you.
good. I don't have a problem with what you're trying to do there at all. The issue is that Paul and I had an understanding that he would help me repair that one fence that is on that, which is really, really downtrodden and, you know, about ready to fall over. I just want to know if that fence is if you guys are going to still do that with me to get that fence fixed, because I have cows in there and we're having problems.
Where's what fence?
The fence goes right here, you know where their home is right there?
Uh-huh,
And then Mrs. Goza's place is right there. I'm next to it right there.
yeah.
Yeah.
so I'm gonna kind of bring this back. That's really an issue for you all
Okay.
to decide between yourselves. It has,
Okay.
what we have to focus on is just the application that's in front of us. So I want to keep it really focused on that. So
I understand.
hopefully you guys as good neighbors can work things out, but that will be between you all and
Okay,
not
good.
through this, so.
Thank you. I've never met him, so now I have. That's why I'm here.
Yep, very
Okay,
good.
thank you.
Thank you, sir.
Yeah, yeah.
All right, thank you.
Do you have a phone, let me get your phone number real quick.
970 960 8343.
Right, I will.
All right, thank you very much. Thank you.
All right, thank you. All right, we are still in public comment for this application. Anybody else would like to speak for or against the application? Okay, seeing none, I'm going to close the public comment section of this public hearing, and I will bring it back to the commissioners. Gentlemen, do you have any questions or comments for planning?
I don't have any problem with it. Looks like it's pretty simple, really. And it's already divided by those roads anyway.
Yeah,
It complies
I-
with
I
everything,
agree.
and we had a unanimous from planning and zoning? Okay. All right.
I would move we approve the subdivision amendment and rezoning application for lot number 5, Rolfs Ranches subdivision submitted by Judy and Paul Mead on property located at 25408 Road S.6, Dolores.
Second.
Okay, it's been moved and seconded to accept a proposed subdivision amendment and rezoning application for lot number 5 of the Rolfs Ranch subdivision submitted by Judy and Paul Mead on property located at 25408 Road S.6, Dolores, Colorado. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. Okay. You have your approval. Thank you, and I will close this public hearing. Okay, Next, we have item number 1 under planning. We have a variance application.
Correct. Mr. Robinson? Mr. Robinson has property up the West Fork, and he is proposing to relocate his well pump house as well as the propane tank. Currently, they're in the floodplain, depicted there. I guess it's north of the garage and the existing house. They're in the middle of the picture. He's proposing to move those back, but he can't get them the full 100-foot away from the riverbank. So he's requesting a variance. What was the distance on that?
The pump house will be adjacent to the 100-foot line. It's currently about 70 feet from the water, and if I go past that 100-foot line, I drop off into an intermittent drainage that goes down and rises up close to the road. I could go across and put it right on up close to the road, the driveway, which is a red sign road. But I was hoping to be able to put it adjacent and just inside of that 100-foot line so that I don't have to trench underneath that drainage, and then it would be out of the further away from the river and out of the floodplain.
So, do you have a floodplain permit now? Because you can, what's the elevation? Is the elevation high enough to be?
The new elevation would be out of the flood.
So it would be, it's a foot higher right there, or is it 6 inches?
Couple feet higher.
Couple feet higher, so,
So it'll get it out of the floodplain, but it'll only be like 93 feet instead of the 100-foot. So we just would request a variance to the 100-foot setback, and he would not be required for a floodplain permit.
mhm.
So that off to the right where it says new pump and filter shed, that drops off pretty fast?
Yes.
Yeah, it's a drainage channel from the north.
It's about a 3 or 4 foot drop off into that, the bottom.
And that's as close as you can get it, you can't get, I mean,
That line is within a foot of where it begins to drop off into that drainage.
so this is an actual survey, you've taken you've taken the levels, and this is an actual survey to get you outside of that 100 feet? Or,
Yes, we had a topographical survey done.
okay. So within the floodplain right now, is all he has to do is elevate it where it's at, correct? And he would be compliant?
Well,
I mean-
to elevate that, then he's actually at 70 feet instead of.
But
Right.
he's just within the, right, he's within the floodplain and he's closer than the 100
Right.
foot.
Correct. So he's moving it further back from the riverbank and out of the floodplain is the proposal.
Is that a natural ditch there, or was that a man-made drainage?
It's natural. It runs all along the road from north of me, all the way down to, I think, where it joins the river at some point.
Where would the alternative be for the tank? You said that you could put it on the other side, or?
It would be east to the edge of, on the other side of that, so as close as we are, it's wider than it appears. That the line is marking the bottom of it, but it's fairly wide at that point, and so it would be very close to the road.
It just looks like there's enough real estate here to get everything out of the floodplain and everything out of to comply with the 100-foot setback.
There is, and we would just trench underneath the existing drainage, which would mean a lot deeper trenching, and then I suppose we would have to take out all of that to the east is willows. So we would have to, it's clear where we're planning on putting that, and to the east of it is all willows. So we would have to clear out a good bit of the riparian growth.
They would also have to be set back from the road right away 30 feet, which is probably gonna put it back in the ditch.
Yeah, it's hard to understand that without any dimensions on this plat. I mean,
I can get those and resubmit.
so the existing pump house, questions?
No. Not yet. Still looking. Gerald, do you have anything?
Where it says new underground water tank, is that where you've got the,
We've revised that plan. We've found a cistern that acts as a foundation for a pump house that's used in New Mexico by a lot of Pueblo Indians, and that's what we were planning on doing, is just slip that.
Under the pump house would sit on top of it?
Yes.
Yeah. So that wouldn't be there then?
Right, yes.
So it's just one unit where the hash marks are?
Yes.
And then the propane tank, you can't get it on the other side of that 100-foot line either?
Same thing. We could put it over there, but with the same problems. We'd be taking out a lot of.
So from the 100-foot dashed line, you're saying you only have 12 inches from there to the drainage? Because it doesn't look like that on this picture.
Well, again, that marks the bottom of the drainage. And
Right.
We could add graphs to show where it comes up to level.
Right.
But it is right at that 100, it's within a foot of that 100-foot line is where it begins to drop off very rapidly.
So the propane tank would be at approximately 90 feet also, 93 feet?
Yes, it could be adjacent to that line. Again, we would get it as close to the drop-off as we can put it. But it would have to be, I think, 20 feet away from the pump house.
Yeah, it depends on the size of the propane tank, and it's kind of in the wrong direction anyway, just due to a levee, but, or the way it's drawn, it would have to be turned the opposite direction.
Okay.
Do you understand what I'm talking about?
I don't know why, but I understand what you're saying.
So you create a missile,
Mhm.
and it would shoot towards the structures, so you have two structures in its path.
Okay.
Boiling, elevated level, liquid explosion,
Right.
levee.
Mhm. So turn it the other way.
Yeah, it has to turn the other way. That way it's not a direct missile to the structures.
Sure.
There's a minimum requirement per the tank size for LPG anyway,
Mhm.
and then it has to, the direction has to be moved. So
Okay.
what, gosh, I'm just struggling. I mean, if we're gonna do this, it just, we're moving something that's not compliant to not compliant, and that doesn't make a lot of sense to me. It seems like we should be able to make it move into a compliant situation.
How much drainage actually comes down that other drainage in the spring?
I didn't see any this spring. I've been there a year and a half, and I haven't seen water moving through those.
Yeah, this year's probably not a great year to,
The neighbors say that it runs with some regularity. I
yeah,
just
the
don't know
last
what
couple
that
of years,
means.
probably not a good year, probably wouldn't see anything.
Right.
So we can't get it down closer to where it's at now? I mean, the existing pump house is here. Do we have more area right there without crossing over that drainage? It appears here again, without having any dimensions on this, it doesn't. It appears that you have more room down here to get it, and then we're compliant. Does that, do you understand what I'm asking?
No, you mean east toward the road, that there's room there, or down lower? South. South, I was just looking at the cursor.
Southeast, I guess. I don't even have I don't have an arrow on here to.
Get the stick.
Yes, here it is. What I'm asking, it looks as this is a very big area that's out of the floodplain.
Right, but
So-
it's in the floodplain, right? The gray area.
The shaded gray is the floodplain extent.
This is the floodplain,
Correct.
correct? So can we not get it? Here's what I don't know how big this area is here before we get to your drainage.
I guess I need to put, instead of the bottom of the drainage, I need to add to that.
What we need to know,
The
how
range.
much room do you have to work with? Because
Yeah.
it looks like you have enough room to get it over here beyond 100 foot and still be okay.
Yeah, right, and I'll get the topographer to come back out and put the lines on it. I don't believe there's any room. I believe it is a wide drainage. When I was out there marking the 100-foot and seeing what the topographer had put, we pushed it as far back as we could before it started to drop off and be out of the floodplain.
You might look at the footprint of the cistern tank, the pump house tank,
Just under 7 by 10.
because the amount of fill that you pull out of there to drop that tank in there, you could actually extend that into that drainage area and maybe build you a footprint.
And
for
if
the
it's
pump
just
house.
a drainage, I mean, it can be moved to a certain degree. I mean, it's not like, that was why the question, is this a man-made or is this a drainage that can be modified? But it also looks like you wouldn't have to modify anything just to get out of the floodplain. And even if you are just a little in that floodplain, you can get a floodplain permit and elevate that, and you're fine too. So,
Even with the cistern underneath?
sure.
Okay.
You know, you can elevate that and then berm up around it to keep your frost levels or everything that you may have to comply with there.
Right.
Because I'm gonna assume you're gonna leave it full all the time.
Yeah.
It's just hard for me without seeing any dimensions on this to really understand that there's not room to not get it within that 100-foot mark.
Right.
And/or out of that floodplain.
Right, and without being here before, it was hard for me to anticipate the.
And I understand that.
That's fine.
I understand that. But here again, like I said, even in the floodplain in the gray area, as long as you elevate it above that floodplain elevation, you can still utilize that piece of property, you just have to have the floodplain permit. And it has to be elevated so that the elevation of the river at that point in time doesn't sweep everything away with it, it just has to be elevated.
Right. Okay, well, that's very helpful. We will go back and sharpen our pencils.
Okay, and it just doesn't make sense to move it from one location that's not compliant to another location that's not compliant. Let's fix it, we're gonna fix it, let's fix it and be done with it.
Okay.
That's just one man's opinion up here, I'm speaking just for myself.
How hard is it, if you did actually move it on across there, how hard is it gonna be to fill that butane tank from, propane tank from?
I think either can be done fairly easily. Either place is accessible with the length of the hose they have.
And like I said, number one, thank you for coming in, and I appreciate you trying to do this the proper way. I really do, I thank you. But I think there's enough real estate there that if you just elevate it a little bit with the floodplain permit, you're gonna be fine and stay outside of that 100-foot area.
Right. Well, and I understand the line of thinking. The other line of thinking I was presented with was this is an improvement. It gets out of the floodplain and closer to the 100-foot.
Which is
a different perspective.
yeah, which is by far better to be out of both, but if you can't achieve it.
Right. Well, we'll go exhaust the possibilities and come back.
Okay. All right,
Thank you, sir.
thank you.
Thanks.
So then you'll bring this back to us whenever you have a better drawing and some actual real numbers on there would be really helpful.
Yeah.
Okay, all right, thank you.
If he's out of the 100-foot zone, he won't need a variance.
Right,
Yeah.
correct. All right, item number 2,
Item number 2,
boundary line adjustment.
you bring that up, Shaq?
Yep.
So this is, I guess, dealing with the same property that Porch Swing Ventures was, that was reviewed for a PUD, 3 weeks ago. It's kind of a backwards L-shaped property. In reviewing the surveying, there was some discrepancy between an old survey, the new survey, such that the two adjoining neighbors have gotten together to accommodate doing a boundary line adjustment, so that an existing cold building that's built close to the property line won't have to be moved, will be compliant. One more up, Shaq. There you go. So the shaded area on the right-hand side will go to the property owner on the left, and the shaded area on the bottom will go to the property owner to the south and to the right. So it's an even trade of acreage, and they're just solidifying that property line boundary, so that can be recorded prior to recording the PUD plat. So this can be reflected that way, but this will also get that building that was built there a couple years compliant, resolve any two views of an old 75 survey and a new survey, and eloquent lines and a whole bunch of other surveying stuff that.
So they were using the fence line, if I see that correctly, and they thought that was the property line?
Yeah, and that fence line kind of meanders along there, but that's more or less what was being viewed as the property line. So this will make both property owners happy, and they'll be compliant with their building.
And a shed, that's a 30-foot setback there too, right?
Correct.
So that gives us 30,
Right at 30 feet, I believe.
So all the setbacks are met, all the acreage is met, and both parties agreed to the
This will
boundary
make
line
both parties
adjustment.
happy.
they're just exchanging acreage.
Correct.
Okay.
She had to maintain a minimum 3 acres, because that's all she's got.
Question, gentlemen?
I don't have any problem with it.
Okay.
They're both in agreement, and that's fine.
All right, well then, need,
I move to approve this boundary line adjustment application submitted by Colleen Brennan and Ricky Trujillo Senior on properties located at 32328 Road P, Mancos, Colorado.
Second.
okay, it has been moved and seconded to accept a boundary line adjustment application submitted by Colleen Brennan and Ricky Tulio Senior on properties located at 32328 Road P, Mancos, Colorado, consisting of 3 acres more or less, and 13480 Road 32, Mancos, Colorado, consisting of 5 acres more or less. All those in favor?
Aye.
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 Thank you.
All right. Okay, that's it, unless you have anything else for us.
I think that covers it.
Okay, very good. Well, thank you, guys, I appreciate it.
Thank you.
Okay, next up on our agenda is our public comment session. The Board of Montezuma County Commissioners welcomes you to this meeting. Person speaking during public comment will be limited to 3 minutes, or depending on the number of people wishing to speak, it may be reduced to allow all the members of the public the opportunity to address the board. When addressing the board, please state your name and address for the record prior to providing your comments. Comments to individual supervisors or staff are not permitted, and participants may not yield their time to others. With that, the public comment session is open. Good morning.
Good morning, lady and gentlemen. My name is Mike Lynch and my address is 21730 Road S in Cortez. This morning I'm delivering to you a copy of a report generated by CISA, that is the Cybersecurity and Infrastructure Agency. This agency operates under the Department of Homeland Security. The report is dated June 3rd, just 4 days ago. The report is titled ICS Advisory, ICSA-22-154-01. Vulnerabilities Affecting Dominion Voting Systems, ImageCast 10. To be clear, the report states in the summary that CISA has no evidence that these vulnerabilities have been exploited in any elections. But I would also point out that nowhere in the report do they claim they were looking for such evidence. I will read excerpts from section 2.2 Vulnerability Overview, but take note that none of these vulnerabilities malign the capability, efficiency, or proper completion of the assigned tasks of the election staff of any county. These vulnerabilities are strictly machine related. Number 2.2.1, improper verification of cryptographic signature. An attacker could leverage this vulnerability to install malicious code, which could also be spread to other vulnerable ImageCast 10 devices via removable media. 222, mutable attestation or measurement reporting data. An attacker could leverage this vulnerability to disguise malicious applications on a device. 223, hidden functionality could be leveraged by an attacker to gain elevated privileges on a device and or install malicious code. 224, improper protection of alternate path allows an attacker to directly access the operating system. An attacker could leverage this vulnerability to escalate privileges on a device and or install malicious code. 225, path traversal. An attacker could leverage this vulnerability to spread malicious code to ImageCast 10 devices from the EMS. 226, execution with unnecessary privileges. An attacker could leverage this vulnerability to escalate privileges on a device and or install malicious code. 227, authentication bypass by spoofing. An attacker with physical access may use this to gain administrative privileges on a device and install malicious code or perform arbitrary administrative actions. 228, incorrect privilege assignment. An attacker could leverage this vulnerability to gain access to sensitive information and perform privileged actions, potentially affecting other election equipment. 229, or origin validation error. An attacker could leverage this vulnerability to print an arbitrary number of ballots without authorization. In Section 3 of the report, CISA offers recommendations to mitigate these vulnerabilities. Their first recommendation is to, in my words, work with Dominion to get latest software and firmware updates. Thank you very much.
Okay, thank you. All right, next.
Thank you, and good morning, everyone. My name is Alan Mays, 21693 County Road 21, Lewis. I heard some good discussion this morning on planning and zoning, so I do appreciate your good hard work there. My concern is with the NCA. I know that there's a good, strong effort to put this proposal and get it to the legislature. I'm just concerned with our legislature and where they will go. I know that there are no guarantees for that. It is a good movement forward, though, that the county commissioners are attempting. I just hope that people will listen and maybe do the right thing. But there is a concern that there are no guarantees. That I know we have a good group here, but there are others that want our water and want to do what they can. So anyway, appreciate the efforts that you went through with the NCA. Thank you.
Thanks.
Next. Okay, seeing no other public comment, I'll close the public comment session and we will come into Public Works. First on our agenda is Road and Bridge, Mr. Engelhardt. I do apologize for not making your Zoom meeting on Thursday, but I was in a CCI Western District meeting that I could not get out of.
It was a good meeting. We had a good meeting and we got some stuff decided, so I'll go over that here in just a second. But yeah, it was good. Thanks. So the first thing this morning we'll go over, I guess, will be our June agenda for the road department. The main work, excuse me. Mac chloride was going on throughout the Roundup district through the end of May and into June, and it'll continue through probably the rest of the month, being that they're kind of short crude right now. We started doing chip seal on the 6th. We are road chipping 42 and 33, 34 Mary, 20 in Goodman Point areas. So that's all the single lift maintenance course that we're putting on all those miles. It's about 30 miles of road, getting that done throughout the month of June. Then we'll come back in August or September and do the DOLA project out at Yellow Jacket Road, YN16, and take a look at that little section on Road 20. We had a mainline water irrigation pipe break under that new road, and so we got in there and had to dig out a large chunk of that road. So we're a little leery about chip sealing it this fall. Maybe we'll let it wait one more year and dry out. We put good material back in it, but that's usually the one weak spot you'll have for a while until things dry out enough. So we'll see how that goes. That was that little section over there about halfway between Road P and Road S we rebuilt. So we wanted to get chip seal, but we will still put the maintenance course on the main road. We may just wait till this fall or next year to do the 3-pin layer there. So just to make sure we don't have a mess. Also, we'll be graveling roads Y and 16 and at the end of the month, and that'll get that ready for the DOLA job in September for chip seal. So that's our main work through this month. If we get done early enough with the chip seal, we may even start some of the Forest Service Schedule A work with the blading of the roads up there in late June or early July at the latest. So that's where we're headed with that. So any questions? Okay. I don't really have a lot to talk about. I do want to talk about the Alkali Bridge, what you were commenting on. We had a meeting. We're ready to go. We've got a notice to proceed from the CDOT to advertise the bridge. So we had a meeting. Shaq was able to join us, and we went over our advertisement, how we want to coincide or mesh together CDOT's requirements, our procurement policies, and then, of course, whatever we need with the federal boys, because they've got a lot of say in this too. So that advertisement is being developed, and our target date is the 15th of June to put that out for advertisement. Before it goes out, we'll proofread it, make sure it meets all of our criteria to do what we need as far as getting it on the right websites, the right
newspapers, the right verbiage, wordage, and all that we need to have for the closed bid advertisement. I think our procurement policy follows CDOT's real close. I don't think there's gonna be a lot of issues there. I think we'll get through that one. It'll just be getting through the federal guidelines with their money to make sure we don't have any boo-boos on that deal, so.
The one thing that the commission needs to be aware of with the federal guidelines is that they do prohibit local preference with federal money.
Yeah, yeah. We will probably put it out for qualified bidders only, which is basically the CDOT list. Whoever's on that CDOT list is a qualified bidder. That weeds out a lot of looky-loos, you know, and just a waste of time. And so that gives us a good shot at the better bidders, or not the better ones, just the ones that are qualified under CDOT standards.
Yeah.
So, and then we'll have a pre-bid meeting on site, and let us go through some questions and answers, and that'll be managed by Bechtel to make sure we have all the questions get answered by all the right people that go out to the bidders, so we don't have any lack of information going out to different bidders that we inadvertently missed, you know. So that'll all be handled that way. And then we'll put it out for bid and give them 2 or 3 weeks to put a package together and bring it in on a closed bid. Let you guys open the envelopes. So that's the plan. All this is gonna take a little time, but we still think we'd like to try to get this done by middle of July, or late July even, maybe 1st of August, and maybe start this bridge by early fall still. So it depends on materials and, you know, like the girders and who would supply them, and could we get them this fall, and who's available, and how many people or how many contractors are available to do the work during the summer. And this could actually be a good idea for winter work. We can do this in winter, so we just have to see. So.
What's the time frame, Rob? Because one of the classes that I took at CCI was with Kappa, and obviously asphalt. This is not asphalt, but it's still the schedule, the time lengths, and the frames. Did we elevate this any at all because of the material delivery? Everybody's struggling to get anything. So I was just curious.
It's estimated to be about a 180-day project.
Okay, so
we'll probably do it quicker.
6 months.
Right. That was a good question. We talked about that in our meeting. I think the biggest problem would be girders. I think concrete's probably pretty readily available. Girders might be the big issue. Bearings for these girders could be a big issue. So Bechtel's doing some legwork on that to see just what the timeline is on girders and bearings. Those are the big key items. Rest of it's just basically wood forms and concrete, so pile driving. And I think this time of year is difficult because most contractors have jobs and they're busy.
Right.
And then they roll into the winter months, they become available. So if we're willing to live with a little more expense for winter work, it could be a big deal. It could be a good deal for a contractor to bid this job. So that's how it goes.
So your notice to proceed could happen in
September, maybe?
September, October?
Yeah, so, you know, even then, the new January is now March, so. You know, so
True.
we kind of rolled in there a couple extra months now, so, yeah.
Okay.
So there's that. We're also working with Campbell Slip. It's getting more interesting now. We've received our permission from the Ute Mountain Ute Tribe on their 401 water works. They've signed off on it. So then it was moved up to the Corps of Engineers 404, and they've got about 12 issues that we're working out. They range from endangered species to regional conditions. It's a host of 12 different concerns, and it would bore you to tell you all 12 of them because I don't understand about 6 of them, but we're working on it, and hopefully we'll get there, and hopefully we can do it by this summer. But the good news is everything is stable, nothing's moving, the wells are down, the Wilson ditch is running, has been since May 18th, and we're not seeing any movement on the wells that are of any importance to us.
Oh, good.
There was one leak downstream of the pipe that we put in, and it was a pretty significant leak last year, and they got in there, the Wilson ditch group did, and cleaned that out, and moved the ditch over, and I think we've passed that hole, at least it's gonna be a big help. So everything's good and stable right now, and I think the biggest issue we'll have is the irrigation comes up here, the creek comes up. And then do we really wanna mess with that creek when it's running at a high level? Or do we wanna wait till later? But a lot of that depends on environmental issues and things like that. We may have to dive in there anyway, just to avoid some other issues with the Corps of Engineers, so. But it is moving again. We're moving in a good positive direction to establish a timeline and get down there and get that fixed, so. And I am still working through the Ute Tribe too, and Women's Construction to get assistance with them, to let them look at the work and help us with this, and it's on their land, so. I think we're all still looking in a positive direction on that, so.
Okay,
Good.
good.
And then that's about it. It's been a busy month or so, with the mag chloriding. It's all done in the Mancos, Dolores and Cortez areas, and then we'll wrap that up, and then chip seal starting up, so it's just every day out there knocking it out with that stuff.
All right. Questions, gentlemen?
No, thanks, Rob, we
What-
appreciate it.
Yeah, I've got a real question. Do you want that Groundhog Road back?
No, sir. Is that a good
So-
answer or a bad answer? If we can own it, yes, but I don't wanna lease it. I don't wanna do an agreement like Dolores County did, because all it's gonna do is cost us a lot of money. And, if they don't give us the road in ownership, then why would we let them get away with not fixing the road? So, and we need to fix our road. They need to fix our section too. That paved section is a mess this year, and I can't fix it no more. And we've been discussing over the last 2 years getting in and doing an overlay. I was hoping there would be a budget for it this year provided by the Forest Service, and they don't seem to have had that done, or don't have the money this year. But it's beyond me repairing it.
Yeah.
We need to do an overlay on it.
We asked that question yesterday. Obviously, I came down at Monday morning early, and it's pretty rough shape.
And I remember when Dolores County signed off on that easement that they did, and that was probably, for them, was a good idea, but you see the condition of their road now, and they probably don't have the funds nor the budget to go fix their road. And no help from the government now, because they're out of that picture, so, I would not wanna do that, Mr. Copeland. I mean, buy it or own it, yeah, give us the road, then we'll figure out how to fix it, I guess. But I think they should fix it before they give it back to us, you know, that's my.
I agree 100%. We tried to get them to give it back to us a long time ago, because the county had it at one time,
Yeah.
and we gave it back to them, because we didn't want to pay for the maintenance on the thing and everything. We couldn't keep up with it. Most of the people that are using it actually don't even live in, Montezuma County. The properties, all the private property that's up there's in Dolores County.
Right.
So that taxes are going that direction instead of to us.
Well, all the years.
And don't get me wrong, I don't
No.
have nothing against that road, but it is gonna be it's gonna cost a lot of money to keep it up.
Well, the West Mancos Road is a good example. We don't own that road. That's Forest Service road, but we work with them on our Schedule A agreements and our bilateral agreements with Forest Service. That's a nice road going up to the transfer park. We're up there chip sealing right now. They're dying, our participation. It works good as long as everything gets done that way. Dolores Norwood's the same situation. If we own the road, then I guess we would take that burden, but we don't own it.
So we're looking into it. Ian hasn't had time to look and see if that's actual ownership or if it's actually just,
The FERPA easement that was talked about yesterday would not be actual
it's
ownership.
just an actual easement.
Yeah.
So two other roads that he talked about also yesterday, Rob, I don't know if you had time to review our workshop or not, but he was also talking about the Millwood Road and then the Chicken Creek Road also, where it goes up to that.
Yeah. Again, those are roads that need help, that need work, and if we own them, then I guess we could put our taxpayers' money to it. But it's their road, and as long as they claim ownership, they should stand up to their end of the deal and put the overlay on it, the gravel on it, or whatever. I'll work with them. We've had a great relationship,
Sure.
but I wouldn't want to take that burden onto the taxpayers and make them pay for the road repairs until they're up to standard, so.
Okay.
The part he was talking about on the Chicken Creek Road is just from where it dives to the left there and goes back on the Forest Service property, then cuts back across the Hackley place.
Yes.
He was wanting that portion back over, which I thought was already on our county road map as a county road, even though it goes across forest property.
That's one of the weird ones, yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
And the other side is the part going up toward the place up above the Bible camp and stuff, because they're not wanting to pay an access permit. They think it's a RS 2477 road, and they've declined to renew their permit.
Well, I talked to Doug about that, and I don't know how that got turned red, Gerald. I mean, and neither did Doug, he didn't remember, but there's some little bit of background on it. But that was green at one time, which is like the Dolores Millwood Road or the West Mancos Road. It can be green inside the Forest Service, but it's still Forest Service. And it could mean that we'll go service it, maintain it, or work with them to relay. But our Schedule A agreements are really a pretty good agreement. We do a lot of work every year, but the agreement is that they'll put the overlay or the new gravel on it. We may haul it, we may help with it, we may give them a good price on it, but we work together on it. But it's still their responsibility to take that burden on. And, you know, you got all them logging trucks coming down out of there tearing up the new road. We just paved, what, 4 years ago? And somebody's gonna have to put a new layer of chip seal on that. Now, is that our responsibility as Montezuma County? No, it shouldn't be. You know, it should, unless they give us the road. If we own the road, then I guess we can take that burden. But that's a good road there. What about 30 years of abuse on the rest of it? And I say abuse as in wear and tear. I don't mean that they didn't try. They did. They chip sealed that old highway and all that. But that highway was built back in McPhee day when we built the dam. You know, that's a lot of years on a road. So it's a good quality road, but they've got to fix it. So that's my opinion. Thanks for asking.
Okay. Anything else?
No, I'm good.
All right.
All right, thanks.
Have a good day.
You too.
Next up is Noxious Weed Bonnie Logging.
Okay.
Rob never wants to listen to me. It's not fair. Is that off? You're gonna turn it off? No. Oh. Leave it? I think it's on. I turn this on.
Go ahead.
I made the
Jim?
chairman
Jim
disappear.
doesn't
I
wanna
don't
listen
even
to
get a
me
round
either?
of applause.
All right, what thistles is Eddie Lewis looking at? Don? What kind? Mel? No.
Nope.
Gerald?
Musk.
All right, good job. You guys need to study a little more. Okay, next. That one's not working. Okay. So far we've mapped weeds on 145 private properties. 22 of those were new properties, meaning we haven't mapped it on those properties before. 34 of those properties weren't notified, it was just mapped. We've contacted them in the past, so we're just kind of monitoring those guys. 9 of these properties received certified letters because we've sent letters over 4 years with no response, and the weeds are still bad. I still have a lot of mapping that I need to process from last week. Next. Okay, so we've done 25 property visits so far this year. We've loaned out about 60 backpack sprayers, so that's up from last year. We've had about 46 cost share applications reimbursing $6,000. Of those applications, 175 acres were treated. Don Wilson, my sprayer, has covered the hoary crust places on the county roads twice now. It's pretty slow to die. You treat it with Escort, so eventually it starts turning yellow, but we've treated pretty much anything that we've seen on the county roadsides. I've treated about 100 acres of bare ground, and that's the strips on the edge of the road. They're looking really good this year, but we're just gonna have to keep going. Sindel has sprayed the fairgrounds. She's gonna spray the Mancos gravel pit pretty soon, and then the archery range, the shooting range, some other areas. But overall, all our county properties are looking really good as far as the gravel pits, our road yards. Fairgrounds is looking pretty good. Landfill's looking good. So I did spray the landfill. In the year, I think it was 2 years ago, the landfill had like 70 acres of Russian knapweed, and it looks amazing right now. So we've killed pretty much all that knapweed. There is still a lot of cheatgrass and jointed goat grass up there, and I'm going to talk with you about treating that this fall. We should nip that in the bud. Okay, next, the Phreatophyte project. We've managed about 40 acres so far. At least that's the paperwork that's been processed. There's been more acres that I haven't gotten the paperwork back yet.
We've removed over 8,000 trees. We have about 20 properties on our wait list, totaling about 200 acres that need management. And we haven't done any advertising really. I mean, there's been some articles posted just about the project, but we haven't been reaching out to landowners about the project because we have enough work right now. We're having a lot of mechanical issues this year. We had a lot of mulcher issues, but luckily now we have a spare mulcher. So when one mulcher breaks, we can at least put that spare on and keep moving. Right now we're having a lot of overheating issues, so we're addressing that. I'm having Ian look at our CAT contract to see if we're allowed to modify the excavator. So the excavator is working just fine. It's working normally, but when you add the mulcher to it, it's overheating the hydraulic oil too much to where the excavator can't handle cooling it fast enough. So there's these different Forester excavators made specifically for these Forester applications as far as mulching, and they have extra cooling systems to cool that hydraulic oil faster. So we're trying to look into that. I don't know if there's like a CAT excavator already equipped with a Forester package, or if we can modify this current excavator. There's these reverse fans that you can buy, because normally the fans do one way, but if you do it the other way, it'll blow the crap out of the radiator, and that way it cools it off a little better because it's constantly sucking in dust. So the guys are constantly getting compressed air and spraying it out, but if we had that reverse fan, like every 30 minutes, they could just blow that crap out. So we're trying to see if the contract will allow us to modify the excavator with additional cooling for the mulcher, or maybe the contract, because the excavator isn't really working for what we're doing because it's not equipped with the cooling systems the mulcher needs, maybe they can switch it up and get us a forestry package that's already on an excavator. Does that make sense? So it's always something, this is what we're working with.
When we purchased this, we kind of had asked that question up front. Was it going to be able to be compatible with the mulcher that we had? Do you remember that question?
Yeah.
So, but now it's not compatible?
It's compatible, it's just, we're learning this as we go. I don't think Colorado does a whole lot of logging operations like out east or something. So the people at CAT don't really know what's supposed to be equipped on these excavators with the mulcher. And we ran into that problem 4 years ago when we rented an excavator. It didn't have the right hydraulic oil pump. Like, there's a lot of modifications you have to make for the excavator to make this mulcher work.
So the mulcher, or the one that Rob is using on his new machine, how is that working?
It's the same. It works
But
the same.
It's on a different machine though, right?
No, it's on the, we're using the same CAT machine that we're leasing.
Correct. I'm saying his machine that he's using is a different machine.
You're
It's a
talking
Kubota, right?
Chris Swift, or who are you talking about?
Rob,
Robbie Myers?
The road department.
Oh, the road department, Kubota.
They have a new one that we
They
purchased
do.
a year ago, right?
Yeah.
They do, but they don't run it like we do. We're running it in thickets of stuff where it's dusty. We're running it all day long. They're cruising, so they're taking breaks, so it cools off pretty fast. And we've used the Kubota before through the same place that they purchased that one, and we did have the overheating issues with that one as well.
Okay.
So we're working on that. Hopefully we figure it out. We did have overheating issues last year too, but we were also having mulcher issues, so we're addressing that before the overheating. So that's in the works. So this is just kind of the next one. This is a chart of what we've accomplished through the Phreatophyte project, averages per year, just so you can see it. We haven't updated our sprouts for this year. We've been treating them for the last week, so we'll input that pretty soon. Okay, next. And this one is the water savings. So the work that we do in 2019 doesn't really save water till 2020. So that's why it shows 125 acre feet in 2020, because that was the work that was done in 2019. So far right now, this year we're sitting at 850 acre feet of water of savings, but next year it's gonna most likely double for those calculations. Ultimately, if I get more people and 2 machines, I'm hoping that we're gonna save about 245 acre feet of water per year, and those are just kind of my estimates downline of water savings, for what it's worth.
So just for your knowledge, I did at CCI when Senator Hickenlooper came in to address the whole group, I was able to ask my question, what, you know, through this congressional direct spending, are they going to be able to give us, one, the personnel, and two, the equipment to take care of these? And he seemed pretty open to the idea. So with all of the people on the congressional level, Congresswoman Bober and Hickenlooper, they both seem to be on board. So hopefully this water savings, I mean, 850 acre feet, there's 50,000 gallons in an acre foot of water. So it's a substantial savings.
Yeah, 325.
And he seemed very interested. So just one more chip at the stone for us up
Awesome, I
there
appreciate that.
at the
for sure.
congressional level.
And just for the knowledge of people listening in the audience and out in YouTube land, Bonnie's office has put together proposals that are going to be considered by both houses of Congress for using this model not only in Montezuma County and helping to fund it, but Colorado River Basin wide. So props to Bonnie's office for that.
Thank you. Okay, moving on. So other projects, I have contractors working on our spotted and diffuse snapweed through HPP funding. So that's Habitat Partnership Program through Parks and Wildlife. We were awarded $10,000. So spotted knapweed and diffuse snapweed, they're on the state list B, but our local list A because we don't have too many populations, so we have a chance of eradicating them. We pretty much have all the populations mapped and we're monitoring them, and they're decreasing significantly every year. So we're just going over those properties again with some rejuvera, so that pre-emergent, because that pre-emergent is going to help us control the seed bank and hopefully eradicate these guys. The other project is called the Hermana Project. It's for Russian knapweed. We have large infestations over in that area, so we have this HPP funding to hopefully reimburse 75% of the cost of treatment, labor, and herbicide for that specific area. So we're working on that. The Great Old Broads for the Wilderness began working on the Boggy Trail again. It looks really good. They've done a lot of hard work, and they're back at it, so that's great. I'm going to apply for HPP funds to continue working on the Mancos River project. We didn't receive any funding through the CDA because I needed that for the Phreatophyte project and the cost share. So I think the HPP has put funds into that in the past years, so I'm pretty sure that they will do that. And it's looking great, but we still have areas that we need to keep treating in the trees. Okay, so as far as right of entries, I have 4, but I had a landowner call us last night, so he's going to manage his property, so technically I have 3. So these properties are all right next to each other. We actually got a right of entry last year to treat one of these properties. However, there were horses on it, so I couldn't treat it. There's scentless chamomile, which is pretty rare. I've only seen it on 2 properties in this county, so we really want to eradicate it. And then Russian knapweed is all throughout here. So I have resolution 1-2022. The second resolution we do not need anymore because that landowner has contacted us. Resolution 3-2022, and then 4-22. And then I was also contacting Ian and then Shaq about what to do if I have these enforcement properties and we get a right of entry, we hire a contractor to go treat it. I always send the treatment date to the landowners. Hey, we're going to be in here with this contractor on this date to treat the weeds, but they leave their livestock on there, so I can't go in there and treat. We've had that happen a few times, so if I'm going to try to enforce it in the future, but they keep putting livestock on there to keep me out, how do we handle that?
I think that's an Ian question.
Yeah, so Bonnie did reach out to me and asked about the best way to handle that. Obviously, we can't go in with the livestock there. I looked back at the resolution that we passed for the weed management plan back in 2014. It's pretty broad in terms of what it allows us to do. It really says that we can take whatever means are necessary to enforce on these properties. I think one thing that we could at least start with would be imposing some kind of a fine on the landowner for, for each day or for each month that we're not able to get in and treat because of livestock on the property. The fine, statutorily, it may be difficult to attach the fine as a lien in the same way that we do when we recover costs for treatment. But we certainly could fine, and then we could go into court and try to get a judgment for that amount of money. I think that would be allowable within the statute. That may be a good starting place. I think that's certainly within the confines of the statute. I think that if we move forward with that kind of system and it doesn't work, certainly we could go in to the court and ask for some sort of injunctive relief and a right of entry to get in there and do the treatment.
I'm sure you've already considered this, Bonnie, but I'm just thinking out loud. These properties with the livestock on them, are the infestations, do we have a biologic we can treat them with?
No.
Okay.
And this doesn't happen very often. I've had, just a handful, but there's 2 recurring properties that the weeds aren't getting dealt with, and there's always livestock. So something to think about, I guess. We don't have to really draft up ideas, just kind of keep it in the back of your mind. What can we do?
Well, if it's an ongoing problem, it's not gonna go away until we deal with it,
Yeah.
so.
What I would suggest is, I think that we can conceivably amend that resolution from 2014 to include some sort of a fine schedule for situations like this. I can get to work on that. I don't know whether you guys have any sort of ideas that if the fine direction is one that you want to go and look at, what an appropriate fine would be.
What does the state do as far as what because this is a state.
I can reach out to them. The state statutes don't set forth a specific fine. Yeah, it's very open-ended.
Yeah, the state just leaves it up to the local entities to deal with it, how they feel.
Okay, yeah, that makes sense.
Bonnie, do you have any ideas as to, what you think an appropriate amount would be, what the best way to do it is? I don't know exactly how it works with your guys' contractors.
I would say a yearly fee. I wouldn't fine them every day. I'd be like, okay, we can't treat the weeds this year, so we're gonna charge you this much per acre that's infested that we can't treat. And then hopefully at that point, they'll be like, hey, it's gonna be easier actually managing the weeds myself instead of paying this fine. Does that make sense?
I think it makes a lot of sense on the ground. I think that the difficulty with a yearly fine is then we're looking at, I don't know how much we're going to impose, but are we going to get a judgment at the end of 1 year? Are we going to get a judgment at the end of 2 years? It's a pretty wide range. And so, we might be looking at, 2 or 3 years before we actually decide, okay, this is an amount that makes sense to go to court and try to get a judgment.
Okay.
Yeah, but
So then I'll leave that up to you.
It's also growing too.
Yeah, it is.
And it's gonna spread onto somebody else's property. So it's,
We certainly could look at a yearly fine, and if the fine gets imposed at the end of the year, then we go in and
Well,
take court
we
action.
could try
Well-
weekly, and then you'll get a weekly fine until you agree to treat it yourself or let us come treat it.
I think one of the issues that you'd run into if you did a weekly or monthly or daily is you've only got a certain window with a lot of these species in which you can treat. So say the window's over next week and they haven't treated, there's really nothing that they can do for the next 52 weeks there, and that would.
But I will say the properties that we are having issues with livestock, they're mainly Russian knapweed, so we have a pretty big window in the fall.
Okay.
One thing we might think about would be a quarterly fine, because I think what we could do is we could send a notice every quarter. You would hope that after a couple notices, action would be taken, and then there would be reasonable time to look at it, and then we go into court.
Yeah.
I'll get with Bonnie, and we can look at the resolution and come up with something to present to you guys
okay.
soon.
I think,
Maybe the next time Bonnie comes in, we'll have something ready to go, and then we can, and then you guys can make a decision one way or the other.
Sounds good.
all right.
So back to the resolutions, I'm requesting a right of entry for 3 properties. Let's see, to be determined Road N, 21485 Road N, and then another TBD Road N.
So what numbers are those? What resolution numbers?
Resolution numbers 1-2022, 3-2022, and 4-2022.
So 1, 3, and 4.
One, three, and four.
1, 3, and 4.
You need to name those properties, or what do
I
we
think you
need to
can
do?
just name by resolution is all you have to do, because then they're named in the resolution. So you can just go by the resolution.
Yeah, okay. I move to approve the resolution granting Montezuma County Weed Program or its designated right of entry onto property to control noxious weeds based on affidavit of County Weed Supervisor, Noxious Weed Resolution 1-2022. Same for Noxious Weed Resolution 3-2022 and Noxious Weed Resolution 4-2022.
Second.
Okay, it's been moved and seconded to sign the resolution granting Montezuma County Weed Program or its designate the right of entry onto property to control noxious, Shaq, stop moving it. Based on the affidavit of the County Weed Supervisor, Noxious Weed Resolution number 1, number 3, and number 4, 2022. All those in favor?
Aye.
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 Thank you. And while I'm here, your Russian knapweed window for treatments is opening pretty soon, probably in a couple weeks. It'll be prime time. Right when they develop their buds, right before the flower, that's when they take the herbicide to the root system. So get her done. Any questions?
Treatment for musk thistle,
What is it growing in?
willows, grass.
Okay, so if there's trees, Transline is probably gonna be your best bet. There's others, Curtail does pretty good. Those are probably my top 2 for around trees. And always use the surfactant. The surfactant helps it stick to the plant.
Dawn dish soap works good.
It's actually more expensive than buying just surfactant, which is made for, you know.
Yeah, ivory soap works good.
Okay. No comment.
That's the cheap brand.
Thanks, Bonnie.
Thanks.
Thank you. Okay, Mel, landfill, next. Ready for your signatures. You gotta sign them all.
Couple things. Still waiting on the approval from CDPG for a compost pad. The comments they sent to us have all been addressed by our consulting firm, and we're waiting to hear back on that yet. We have a shredder on site. We're shredding. Green waste will be getting retired hopefully next week. Hopefully we'll be done with that shredder in 2 weeks instead of the whole month. And we've got it worked out. It will leave us and go to Archuleta County from our facility, so hopefully that'll help save a little on freight. The first 5 piles of compost we've totally sold out of. The last 3 piles, we just got our analyticals back Friday, and they're all being moved down, and should be out of that here pretty soon too. So the month of May, for the free month of May for the green waste, we took in about 91.5 tons of trees. We're gonna need more than this as our composting operation grows. Looking at what we're shredding up right now, we'll probably have that used up by the end of the year. So if you guys would like, we'd like to do another free month, possibly July, and help people, especially with the fire issues that we've got. It saved the community $4,000 if they, versus what they had to pay for if they brought in the 91 ton. It's not that much, but I think it would help the community and help us if we get another month.
Why don't we just do it all the time?
Could we just, or at least do it
I
in
mean-
conjunction with the burn ban?
Yeah,
that would be
well,
fine.
yeah,
Yeah.
because
Good
otherwise,
idea.
it's yeah, we don't want them starting fires, and they
Yeah.
need a place to take it, and if it's,
You know,
we need it to create the compost anyway, otherwise we don't have enough carbon stock to do it.
Right.
I mean, in town here, we had, I had a big pile of leaves, branches, you know, all this kind of stuff. And the city has their shredder that they bring down, and they'll put it right in their truck and haul it off, and it's pretty cheap to do that. And I know they brought it down to you guys.
Actually, I think the city uses it for their mulch around their trees.
Do they?
and landscaping
Oh.
work, yeah.
Okay. I mean, but it just got rid of a great big pile that I thought about burning at one time, and then I looked at the surrounding area and decided not to.
Well, and around here, we need to do everything that we can to make sure people aren't burning, that they don't have any reason
Right.
to.
Well, most people through the burn ban, if it's a big enough pile, they're gonna let it sit until after the burn ban is lifted, and then they're gonna deal with it through the winter. I mean,
I see.
historically, that's what they're gonna do.
Yeah, I see lots of push piles, brush piles all over, and they're just sitting and waiting.
I don't think that's gonna resolve your issue.
No.
I think you need more all the time, but we could definitely do that while the burn ban is in effect. But my question is the bigger question of, if it's only $4,000,
Yeah,
what you're,
we charge $45 a ton, that's about what it comes to, per ton to bring it to the landfill, is the going rate. But, once we get Carverfield going, we're really gonna run short on materials.
I know this
So-
place,
we
off-road tea.
both know where there's a place. We all know where there's a place that we need to remove a lot of carbon stock.
Yeah, I can't.
So I think we need to be a little more creative, which is another subject which we can't do a whole lot of talking about right here, right now, but how
Well-
much could you use down there? How much could you facilitate?
Mel has already
and
cleared a place
store.
for at least half of the material that's
Maybe
down
half.
there.
I'm saying a third to a half.
He's already cleared a spot for it and told him he'd take it no charge, because it's already chipped.
We discussed that last year, actually.
We just,
You're gonna run into competition with the pellet mills, aren't you?
I don't
No,
wanna do that.
Yeah, I
no,
know.
we're just,
No,
we're
but-
solving two problems at
but-
one time.
Right.
he reached out, offered that last year, cleared the spot, got it ready to go. They never brought it.
So if we have the transport capability and can start transporting it ourselves, I don't know if you do or not, I don't think you do.
We don't have any way to do it.
If the commissioners got you a new 10-wheel dump truck, I bet you'd figure something out.
If we could find one.
Could be. We're really busy right now.
That's fine,
Yeah.
we'll work on that. I get what you're saying is you could take a third of it right now.
We could,
Okay,
yeah.
well, that helps a bad situation up there that
I
we're
I
dealing
also
with anyway.
believe, Commissioner, that the offer with that was to reach out to the ULC and see if their students would do the driving. Then the only cost, literally the only cost, would be fuel, and they haven't acted on that either.
Well, because they don't have the capability of anything to drive.
Okay.
That's why they don't, that's why they won't reach out, or they have a tractor and not a container.
What about
So-
the private tree trimming guys? What do they do?
Well, right now, ULC is only doing Class B, so that's a contained unit.
I don't know. Canopy Tree Specialist down the road from us, I think he bought his own shredder, and he's selling his mulch, I think.
Okay.
We, I think being creative with what we're doing on the backside of this now, Ian, maybe we can figure something out. We'll,
We have a couple areas we can store that material. what we cleared off is on the old Cortez Sanitation District's
Mhm.
spot over there towards the sheriff's range, which is, that area is fairly safe because it's away from any trees or anything, in case lightning or event of a fire or something, at least we can get to it. Once we get the carbon field going, we're talking, our composting operation is gonna go from a 2-acre pad to a 7-acre pad. So that's where it's really gonna expand, and we're really gonna need to increase our carbon and our nitrogen intake. And I've already been talking with the city. They have the trucks of starting a food waste route, but until I can get something going with the state and start to get this back going, I don't wanna get going on that, cause I have no place to put it. But that's what we're in the works for.
Got it. I think we just have something else that we can get creative with and figure out how to get you some carbon stock down there. The nitrogen stock is
And the other thing,
different, but,
we had a guy today wanna buy some mulch. I don't wanna sell any mulch, cause we're using everything we've got right now to make the compost with.
I know a place you can
Actually,
refer
right
them to.
shoulder. We've got 5 rows up there now, building, getting ready to start their time in temp. We'll do that again, this fall. And from what we've shredded already, if we shred this whole pile, we might have a tiny bit left over to start in the spring with.
well, I think one we can lift by resolution, or we can just do it today. We can accept the carbon stock at no cost, at least for sure while the burn ban is in effect. I think that's easy enough to do. That gives people incentive where they don't have to pay for it. And then between us all, we can work on the issues that we're working off of Road T and hopefully get you a third of that, which solves 2 problems at one time.
So one of the issues we have, we had a few customers, it's been a lot better, but one of the issues that we have, they come in and they think, oh, it's for free, they just drive over there and dump. That's true, it is free, but we have to track those tons.
Right, we have to weigh it so that we know what we have
And
coming in
that is
and out.
something, a report that I have to send to the state, and that goes a long way to our grants that we get, because we're diverting all this material, and that's, so it's favorably from the state.
Is that just signage that you need to add down there?
We have the signage. Everybody come, it's baked creek, I have a new sign built, full on to scale. And yet they drive, some of them drive around, but it's gotten a lot better. We just need them to weigh in, weigh out, so we can track the tonnages, no charge. It's all set up at the computer. She prints me out a report, and it's done, it's real simple.
What about grass clippings? Taking
Same thing.
Okay.
Same thing.
It all goes in the same pile, and we compost it all.
Yep.
Yard waste.
Same thing.
Yeah. Okay.
Trees,
So
limbs.
I have to go to city council tonight, so I'll use that forum to try and get a little bit of something for you.
So the BOCC's been paid for. I think Shaq took the budget down, but, it's been paid for, so.
They know, they approved that last week.
Monthly,
They swallowed hard, but they got her done.
2 weeks ago.
yeah.
Yeah, 2 weeks ago.
And it
Last
looks
week.
like Shaq's got our post-closure fund up. One thing the state's doing right now was in a meeting with, CDPHE yesterday. They are revamping the financial assurance program, and this is our 5-year. We have to renew our deal, and our consultants are working on that. They were also in the meeting with CDPHE on that, so everything should be good with that. But this is our post-closure fund that we need to transfer the money into.
Okay.
Yeah, I would move we approve order number 2-2022 in the amount of $130,000 for the landfill, from the landfill fund to the post-closure fund to offset future costs of closing and monitoring the landfill for closure.
Second.
Okay, it's been moved and seconded to accept order number 2, 2022, transfer of $131,000 from the landfill fund 100 to the post-closure fund to offset the future costs of closing and monitoring the landfill. All those in favor?
Aye.
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 So
We'll work on getting you some more.
I'll have a contract for you guys
Okay.
on that email that you all received.
Very good.
We can get going on that. Anything else?
No? We're good. Thank you. All right, Justin, Fairgrounds. Good morning.
Good morning.
All right, so since I didn't get to come see you the last regular meeting that we had scheduled, I got some of the stuff from the last couple months on here as well. But to start, our attendance to date is 21,180 people. There's kind of a little graph included of our revenue and expenses to give you an idea kind of where we're sitting to the end of May. In April, we had the Home and Garden Show, and then the sheriff came out and did some physical assessment stuff with their deputies. We also had the gun show in April, and then Louis Areola had their hoedown. And then in the May, they had the swine, goat, and sheep weigh-in. Valley Prep came in from the Grand Junction area, and they actually did a sleepover there at the fairgrounds, so they could kind of go out and do a tour of Mesa Verde with their students and stuff, so they kind of stayed at our fairgrounds. Then May 7th, we had the 12 Hours of Mesa Verde. Followed that by Mounted Patrol came out and did some training with their people. Followed by car races out there. Then the Ag Expo had their annual tax sale. And then there was a commodity giveaway on May 14th. And then we also had a country western dance out there on May 14th in the Beef Barn. And then that got followed up by the Operation Graduation on May 19th. And then June 4th was another commodity giveaway this last weekend. That's kind of what went down the last couple months. Just to give you an idea, we did have the internet out there just to kind of give you guys some updates on that. Now that we got through our big shows, shout out to IT because they've done a good job with the internet, and it's been excelling. So haven't had no issues. All the shows and that we've had have been nothing but happy with it. We did have a little equipment hiccup during the 12 Hours of Mesa Verde, but Glenn was great enough to get out there that morning and get it fixed. So just to give you an idea on that. Coming up this next month, right now, we got the Ute Mountain Rodeo and the Fraser Carnival going on. The carnival starts tomorrow evening, I believe at 5 p.m. And then the rodeo is Thursday, Friday, and Saturday. After that, the following weekend, we have a junior rodeo coming in for 3 days. That same weekend, we got another set of car races that's going to be out there at the racetrack. June 25th, the Ag Expo normally does an annual ranch rodeo. They're not sure if they're going to be able to do their ranch rodeo this year just because the guy that normally does it doesn't do it anymore. So they're trying to find somebody to do one for them, or they're going to do something else. But they say they're going to do something, so I guess we'll see. That same day, they're going to do another country western dance out there in the Beef Barn. And then July 2nd, we have a commodity giveaway out there. That's kind of the rundown of our event schedule. And then we do still have banner spots available, so if anybody knows anyone or is interested in renting a spot out there for advertisement, we do have a lot of spots available. Other than that, I guess we went over our fee schedule stuff yesterday. So I don't know if we want to mess with that now or if you're planning on doing that later.
Actually, we were having a discussion this morning. So we looked at the resolution. Did you come up with 7%, which the cost of inflation right now is at 8.54%. So if we round it up, it's got to be a minimum of 9%. So 7% doesn't even cover the inflation rate, which is number one.
Okay.
Number two, to stay consistent with what we've done with everybody else in the county, the sheriff's fees were at $89 of what his cost was. We increased his fees to $100. The landfill, we've done the same thing with mattresses, et cetera. We went over what it's costing us just to try and compensate a little bit for the inflationary rate. So if I'm presenting this correctly, we can't wait for 2 or 3 years. You've got to come back with, we've got to cover the cost out there. And it's just, I know it's not a pleasant thing,
Okay.
but we have got to cover the costs. We can't just,
So Commissioner,
we
do you want me
can't
to
get
make
it
this
to-
9% immediately and then 3% each
well,
year
I
thereafter?
think,
or-
I think this can wait.
Okay.
This can be 9%, but the 3 years has to disappear, because we have to fix the fees to fix it by July 1st, which is what we were talking about yesterday,
Yeah.
for this to go effective.
Gotcha.
It's just, if it's not paying for itself, you know, we keep talking about this and telling people that we have issues, and without a sales tax, which this directly reflects, there's no way to continue these services.
So
if it
I think
doesn't
what you're
pay for
asking is to
itself-
put numbers in there that will revive us again immediately.
Correct. And that's what we've done to stay consistent with everybody else. Like I said, the landfill, the sheriff, everybody. So we're not just consistently bleeding, we're gonna fix the bleed and we're gonna heal it.
Okay.
So you've gotta come back with a new scheduled amount and do it sooner than later, cause it's gotta be to 0, and then we can move forward with a 9% annual inflation rate. And there again, that will have to move with the rates as it changes. Because we can't, or,
Now, just to give you kind of an idea, if I come back with that number, we're looking at a 200% increase across the board.
like we
So,
said yesterday,
I know
because it hasn't been done for such a long period of time, that's why incremental raises annually are so much more palatable than trying to get to where it's
I had to do the
at.
same thing in 2018. I presented to the commissioners a pretty drastic
At the
increase.
landfill. So,
Well, I mean, it's pretty drastic the way it is, so
Mhm.
that's what I'm saying. I mean, we're just gonna add a lot more to it if you want me to come back with.
It comes down to a point whether they want that
Well-
fairgrounds there or not.
No, I get it.
or we cut personnel.
Yeah.
There's also that option too. So look at every option. I know that we had a lot of discussion yesterday, but after thinking about it, we're just, everything has got to be able to support itself with fees because they're using that as a fee-based program. So the fee has to cover it.
So Commissioners, I did want to let you know, I changed some of the wording in this, which we're not going to pass this morning, but I added a further resolved to the bottom that this would be reassessed if there's such a time that the county residents pass a sales tax.
Yeah,
Because at that point, theoretically, the fairgrounds could be a revenue generator.
Yeah, we just want to break even.
We just want to be at a
Right.
0.
So
We
I
don't-
just added that.
We're not trying
So
to
you're
create
aware
revenue.
later when this comes up.
Correct.
Okay.
Okay. Well, I'll make a schedule then.
Okay.
That kind of breaks it even.
It's got to cover, or,
But it's gonna be some big numbers, I mean, just to kind of put that in the back of our minds, so,
yeah.
okay.
So we're trying to make up another $30,000, right?
On top of what's already been charged.
On top of
yes,
what was
yes.
presented yesterday.
Which means I'm gonna
Correct.
have to put about a 21% increase on top of those
Understand?
numbers. So, but I'll look it over and
You know,
I'll give it to you.
Reading, I went through and I read some more last night, and everybody says on that survey, stay within your budget, work within your means, and that's all we're trying to do. This is our means, we can't continue to subsidize it. If it's gonna function, it's gotta pay for itself. And
Correct.
that's what they're saying. That's what they're telling us, and it's written, and we have the survey. So it's like, okay, we've done that with everybody else, we need to stay consistent.
That's what I'll bring back to you then.
All right, thank you, Justin.
The other thing, I don't know if Shaq mentioned anything to you or not about the wash rack. Our bids were due in May.
I think Dustin brought that to us
Did
2
you
weeks
bring it?
ago. He said nobody bid on it and that
Okay.
he or you all
We
collectively.
did since then get it, no, well, at that point, nobody had showed up for the walkthrough. We did get a bid, but we had put mandatory walkthrough in the advertisement, and nobody showed, but we did get a bid. I don't know, it's in my desk if you guys want to consider it, but nobody showed for the walkthrough.
If there was a mandatory walkthrough and nobody showed up, then it's not fair to anybody else that, so it's null and void.
And I don't know if Dustin then mentioned to you, we kind of talked about it in-house, you know, this is probably something we could cover, and then
He
kind of
did.
contract maybe a little bit of it.
The concrete.
Yes, so I am getting numbers on that.
Yeah,
Okay,
you
as soon
were
as-
more
okay.
than capable of getting a number just to do your concrete yourself, yeah,
Yep.
absolutely.
Okay.
He had presented to us that there were no bids, nobody at the walkthrough, and that you all were gonna do it yourselves,
Okay.
collectively between
Yes.
both departments.
Okay.
Yep.
I didn't know if that, okay.
Yep.
Perfect.
That was
Okay.
presented to us.
Okay.
That works.
Other than that, I guess that's all I got, so.
All right,
Okay.
We're getting ready for rodeo, so.
sounds good.
I did want to bring up, I was going to do this in my report, but it makes actually more sense to do it while Justin's here. The Area Agency on Aging had got a grant that Commissioner Copenhaver had briefed us all on a couple months ago for 40-foot grow domes across the 5-county area. Dolores County ended up turning theirs down, and so obviously, John Parker doesn't have room for it at the senior services, but I said that we could accept theirs and put it at the fairgrounds to make everyone aware. It's a 40-foot grow dome. It comes with a horticulturalist for 5 years, and they pay for the seeds and whatever, so the food can be grown for our senior services department. So we had a meeting yesterday, and we'll have another meeting on Thursday with the Area Agency on Aging about the details in it. But my thoughts were, Nicole's already looking for money to move some of our irrigation water so we can water it. So just piping whatever nominal amounts for that. And then my thoughts were that, one, it makes a good opportunity for our 4-H kids that are non-traditional, that live in town, don't have an area to grow and stuff. It'd be a good project for them. And then two, for our extension office, when they do their canning in the fall, it gives them stock with which to teach the class, and then we have that produce put up for our senior center as well. So I wanted to let you guys know that those conversations are happening.
So my question, have you looked at a placement for this, Justin, out there?
I'm kind of looking that over now, because this was just, yesterday when we were talking about this. Ideally, you know, we don't want it where we're having to drive through events to get to it, because if it's something that they need to take care of, you know. So I'm thinking the best part is maybe kind of to the left of when you drive into the fairgrounds. Maybe there's a good spot over in there.
So my question was gonna be to the left where that mobile home used to be, where there's already water and there's already power.
Now, if we're using irrigation water, though, we have to find a
Irrigation water
way
has to come from clear down by the restaurant.
to get it over there. That's where our big, you know.
But is this gonna be this could be a 24/7 potential, or are we just looking through the months of like May through October?
Well, it doesn't come with climate control. If we wanted to add climate control, we could do that 12 months. But basically stock, it'll extend your growing season about 45 days on either side.
Gotcha. So then, what would it take? Yeah, you're gonna have to find out how much water it
Climate control
would
can be
take.
considered in future years. I don't know with the budget numbers for next year that's something to be considered, but at some point it could be considered. Also, you know, there could be ongoing, you know, searching for grants that would cover something like that. But with them, with the grant providing a horticulturalist and the food and the grow dome for 5 years, I don't know why we'd turn it down.
Sure, we can figure out how to get the water there.
What about geothermal out there?
So find a spot.
Yeah. That's what I've been looking at, so.
Okay.
And it's just a matter of figuring everything else out around it. Water's gonna be our biggest thing to get to it, so I think that'd be our biggest hurdle.
Where does the U Mountain Rodeo Club stand with their grant for the parking lot that you guys had requested?
That was T-Mobile, wasn't it?
Yeah, it's through T-Mobile. They're reapplying every quarter.
So,
Nothing yet.
Okay.
so we have nothing
Yeah,
yet.
nothing.
Okay.
I don't know. I don't know if something's gonna come light of it, and the last I talked to them, they didn't have a clue, but they said they have been resubmitting it every quarter, so that's what they can do, so, we'll see. We went out there and kinda cleared that up a little bit, so they can use it as parking, you know, this weekend. Gives them a lot more parking over there. You know, it's not ideal, but it helps, and then even when the fair comes in, we'll have a little bit more room out there for parking trailers and things like
Doesn't
that.
look like we're gonna have any weather, so it shouldn't be a
Yeah,
problem.
I mean, as long as it doesn't rain,
Yeah.
we don't gotta worry about much, so. All right.
All right, thank you, sir.
Yep, thank you, guys.
All right, appreciate it. Okay, unfinished business is next. We've already discussed the NCA, and we've already taken care of that letter for Mr. McLaren, and then now we have the bike trail easements.
And I actually just received the signed bike trail easement within the last 15 minutes from the attorney that represents the landowners. I don't want to rush this through. Our paralegal's down at the courthouse at a jury trial right now.
Okay,
So I don't have a hard copy in front of me. I want to
continue
look
this.
through it anyway. Let's just continue it to next week.
Okay,
and I'll
we'll move
present it
that.
then.
We'll move that to
Is
next
there
week.
anybody in your office not at the courthouse besides you now?
I'm the only one.
Okay, the next thing we have on our agenda is the executive session. Do you have your,
Somebody. Go ahead, Drew.
you just gotta put an X on it.
Yeah. Tell you which one to read. Okay. I would so move we go into executive session for a conference with the attorney for the purpose of receiving legal advice on specific legal questions under CRS Section 24-6-402, parentheses 4, parentheses B.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded to go into executive session for a conference with the attorney for the purpose of receiving legal advice on specific legal questions under CRS Section 24-6-402, parentheses 4, parentheses B. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
And this executive session is going to be for the purpose of discussing the Road Y case. Present in the executive session will be Clerk Kim Purcell, Commissioner Gerald Copenhaver, Commissioner James Candelaria, Commissioner Kent Lindsay, myself, Shaq Powers, James Dietrich, and Doug Roth.
Okay.
We are live.
Move us out.
I move we come out of executive session.
Second.
Okay, it's been moved and seconded to come out of executive session and go back into our regular session. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. Okay, Ian, I think you were done with your report, correct?
I am.
All right, Mr. Dietrich, Natural Resources.
Morning, gentlemen.
Good morning.
So I wanted to start off with the slideshow that we got from the BLM. This is regarding the Section 106 process for the Flowdine Yellow Jacket allotments out of N.M.P.M. I attended the slideshow that they presented. It's been a couple weeks now since I didn't get to present to you guys last week. This is a little bit old. However, I think we're making some progress on this. When we look through the slideshow, really the gist of this is to take a look at the potential area where we need to do intensive cultural surveys out on all those allotments. Now, both allotments have had some survey that's been done, and Shaq can kind of scroll through it, and I'll try to stop you at the right slide. Just keep kind of going through it there. These are the overview. These are the two areas that we're talking about, Flowdine and Yellow Jacket. You can keep going, and go a couple more slides at least. Another one or two, maybe three. First map you see, I think, is what we want to go to. Okay, so this is the Yellow Jacket allotment. So what we can see there is there's been some history of pretty intensive surveys that have been done. I want to say this is around 35% or so at this particular location. The block surveys are shown by the hatched area, and then the transect surveys are shown by the lines. So point is, there's been a lot of survey work done out here. They have a pretty good baseline. They know that there's pretty high potential for having sites out there on these allotments. You can keep scrolling there, Shaq. We'll go to the next colored map that shows up. Okay, so with this one, what they've done through the archaeological assessment is they've taken some basic knowledge about the possibility of having sites out there. They've crossed it over with the vegetation, soils, and geology, and the aspect. And what they're really trying to do is kind of pin down the areas where we think there's a high likelihood of sites being located. And sure enough, there's a fair amount of both of those allotments that have a pretty high propensity for sites being located there. And we can scroll through a few more slides there. Well, yeah, okay, this is a good one to look at. As you can see with these, everything that's in red shows a pretty high possibility of sites being located. However, I think anybody that really knows that landscape, you've been out there, you know, even though that whole area is shown as red, we know that it's not sites one after another. They have some specific areas where they're more likely to be located than others. And I think the other side of that is, when we're talking about the grazing, we also know that cattle are more likely to use some areas versus others. So when we look at this particular slide, you kind of get the notion that, you know, cattle will be using that whole area uniformly. That's certainly not the case. And so we're trying to interject that data into this site analysis also to see where there's a higher potential of interaction between the cattle and cultural resources. And those are the areas where you'd like to try to focus more intensive surveys. So what we're really trying to do here is eliminate areas where we don't have to do as an intensive survey. So we can keep scrolling through there, Shaq. Okay, and so actually I'll back up on that one. So right now we're looking at areas in the red, again, where we're seeing where there's a high possibility of sites being located. So we want to focus our area of investigation on those areas. And you can keep moving through. Okay, and here is a slide that shows some of the stock ponds. We know that stock ponds are one of the primary congregation points for cattle. And so both of these areas have some known stock ponds. You keep sliding through, keep going. Okay, here's a good slide. This one shows, based off of your slope, using the new LiDAR data, which is about 1 meter data. I mean, you can see like cars out there that pop out through this kind of data. So we can eliminate some of the areas where we know cattle can't even get to them. We can Keep moving through Shack. They've simply created polygons out of this, and we can keep going. Okay, now what we're looking at is areas where we know we have concentration of live ponds. Well, you know, we know too that the livestock behavior indicates that as you get further and further away from those watering holes, you have less and less utilization. So we've been able to create buffers around those stock ponds then and predict what kind of utilization we're going to get, and basically convert that to a percentage. We can keep scrolling, Jack.
How big is that circle around that pond?
Oh gosh, I
What is
couldn't
it?
tell you. That it is large. So I'm going to guess that that's probably, that interior circle is probably 500 meters or more. So these are large areas. Keep going.
They'll get away that far from water every day?
What's that?
The cows will get away from water that far every day?
3 miles, 4 miles.
Wow.
Yep.
They'll travel that far. When I had those cows out at Mesa'burg, we had one
So
more
Shaq, you
tank
could
right
back
there in
up
the
here a
front,
little bit, I think.
and they were
Yeah,
traveling clear back
pick
to the
one of those.
Mesa'burg line
So,
in the day.
wow.
And that's.
And then they'll come back
And
to
they'll
the
come
water.
back once a day to water.
Yep.
And they'll go all the way back. But they'll basically
Take the same path.
eat out everything up there closer, and then they just keep moving back and back and back where the forage is. But they were going clear back on the pipeline where that goes up to Mesa'burg, because that comes through that property. So they're traveling
That's a lot.
at least 3 miles
That's a pretty good
or
distance.
a little further.
Okay, sorry.
Not
I
unusual.
just- I mean, it seems
It's
like.
all
a long
good
distance.
discussion. Yeah, because I mean, what we're seeing here is, you know, those buffers that are broken up into percentages. And so as we can see, as we get farther away, less and less of a chance of those cows going that far. You know, the light blue is a 10% chance. So that's getting down there pretty low. We'll have a few that get out there, but not very many. And again, as that blue shade of blue deepens, that's where we're getting higher and higher percentages of utilization. So as we take a look at utilization and compare that with areas where there's survey and where survey is needed, we can start narrowing it down to sort of see where the most important areas for doing those surveys is at. And I think we can scroll through a couple more here. Yeah, even go a couple more here. So we get down to a map that looks something like this. And in here, we can determine where we need to do more intensive survey, and survey to about the 25% level, which would kind of match up with the type of utilization that we're seeing in there. So this is a good way to really, you know, kind of more surgically define where we need to do the surveys. The surveys are pretty expensive. So this is, you know, I think one of the mitigation avenues that everybody has been fairly comfortable in taking at this point. I think one of the other things, a really important takeaway off all this is that what we're really seeing from the data is that over 150 years of grazing out there, we have very few sites that have become ineligible to be listed. So, and we don't know for sure even, you know, what caused that ineligibility. All we can say is that there's been cattle that have visited a site. You know, obviously, I think, you know, the elephant in the room is that there's been grazing out there, you know, 365, 7 days a week for, you know, for years out there now, even though they're saying 15 years of no grazing. So that is not something we've specifically addressed, although at some point this is something we're going to have to probably bring up also. So anyway, I think in a nutshell, it appears that we have got some agreement from the BLM, or at least willingness to work with us on this. I think even within the archaeological program, one of the things is that politically, I think there's a crack to work with here. They're following the rules, but beyond that, I think we politically set up a way to move forward just a little bit here. So this is good. We're going to be looking at a field trip this coming Friday, and we'll be meeting at the west parking lot for the Sand Canyon Trailhead. And we're gonna go out there and take a look at some of the sites that have been damaged, and have a conversation about, you know, what kind of further mitigation we need to do, what kind of future surveys and stuff like that we need to get done too. So anybody's welcome to attend that, so if any of the commissioners would like to show up, it's 8 o'clock at the west parking lot. It'll be concluding by early afternoon, and it's being conducted by the Bureau of Land Management, the Colorado State Historic Preservation Office, and the Advisory Council on Historic Preservation. So all the big name players will be there.
I will not be able to attend on Friday. I will be at the Yates Memorial Tournament.
Yeah, certainly, understand.
I'm gonna try to make it, James.
Okay,
I'll try to make it.
Excellent. And by the way, I will make the invite to all the Rangeland Stewardship Committee, so we make sure everybody has a, you know, a chance to get out there that's interested.
Okay, very good.
Okay, also attended the flood risk assessment exploratory meeting that was held here about a week ago. So FEMA came down with CWCB. They're doing more intensive mapping throughout the state. A lot of this is being done with using that new LiDAR data, which is really good data. So I think what we're going to expect to see is we've got you know, flood insurance maps that are here. I think what we're going to see is maps that'll come down to here. So as they refine the data, I expect that some of the areas that are listed as floodplain will probably be kicked out. Now, given it's good data, it's possible we could pick up some areas too. But there's going to be some changes to the map. And I would expect that it's, I'm hearing about 2025 is when all this will be finalized. We'll have to bring that back before the commission at that point and update that new map, which is the D-firm map, and we'll have to update floodplain regulations at that time also. So to give us some time to reflect on things and work with them on, you know, how we refine that floodplain. I think one of the possibilities would be that we could define floodway. We need to have some discussions about that. That carries some consequences also, but in some ways managing the AE areas, it makes those much easier. That is kind of the muddy area, and not a lot of agreement on those AE. But we'll bring that information back to the commission as it develops. Been continuing to participate with the Dolores Watershed and Resilient Forest Coordinating Committee. Duncan Rose from Trout Unlimited is going to be stepping down from the coordinating committee on that. He's with Trout Unlimited. We're looking for a replacement for him, somebody that knows fisheries and you know, water quality, the ecology side of things. One of the areas that we think that we're kind of lightly represented is within the livestock community. Livestock community could be a big beneficiary of all the work that's being done up on the forest. But you know, of course, the livestock community is pretty busy this time of year, and to get somebody to come to all these meetings, I think it's going to be a pretty big ask. Now, we'll make the invite, make sure that everybody knows about it, but I'm not holding out a lot of hope we're going to get a lot of volunteers. And it looks like we do have about $1 million coming from CoSwap. Part of that can be used to support Danny Margoli's position with Dwarf. And he's doing a lot of good work doing the coordinating and doing the grant writing and things like that. So I feel like allocating some of those funds, keeping his position rolling and everything is a good community benefit. I don't think we have a lot of capacity around here to take a lot of that stuff on, and so that's probably a good use of some of those dollars. A lot of times you don't get a lot of dollars that are also usable for doing the administration on this kind of stuff, but that's a big piece of it. So luckily this time I think we can tap into that funding stream. Then the final thing, well, second to the final thing I want to talk about is the BLM is opening up nominations for parcels that either are completely landlocked and have no public access or have severely restricted public access. So what they're going to do is open up this nomination. Anybody can get online and make a nomination for one of these parcels, and what they'll do is put this into a program that looks for additional properties around that parcel that the BLM could pick up and then provide public access. So there's some parameters on that. The minimum size parcel has to be 640 acres. So it has to be a fairly large parcel. And then It also has to undergo the BLM evaluation and the usual NEPA and everything on that.
So James, am I understanding you correctly that we've gone from looking at our orphan parcels they can get rid of to them looking for land they can buy up around the orphan parcels to have more land?
That is the conundrum, yes.
Welcome to the machine.
Yes, yes. So that's it. Shaq already jumped to it. I was going to point out this really conflicts with our resolution, trying to say no net loss. So while, yeah, I agree that there's probably some parcels here that we might benefit by taking that approach. We're also in a position where we don't want to lose any private parcels out either. It's possible that we could do some land swap, something along those lines. I would point out that up there at Cedar Mesa, this is one of the parcels that they've picked out. There may be some potential up there for helping Cedar Mesa achieve a secondary access route. So, it's something we can all evaluate. But when I look at this map, for the most part, I think we actually technically have access to most of this anyway. The land that's up there on the escarpment, that's landlocked. In the past, at least the area that's down there by the landfill, we have not really been very eager to try to open up a whole lot of extra access into those areas. Now over there on the Menifee side, technically there's access to both Menifee and Weber Mountain. It's small, but there is access. And then when you cross East Canyon there, right up to the county line, there's some BLM land that is landlocked in there, to the best of my knowledge. Maybe it could help in that area too. But again, I think we've got a conundrum where we don't want to let our private lands go over into the public sector. So anyway, I wanted to bring this up because anybody can make those nominations. We may hear about more of this later on. If there's anything the commissioners think that we need to investigate more, let me know, and we'll continue onward. But for the most part, I think we've handled Summit. We've got that the area that's off off to the west there, that's actually handled technically by Road 20, and there is minor access there. I'm going to say it's probably 10 foot, but there is access. So anyway, I'll let that all go, but let me know if there's anything more the commissioners think of on this one.
Okay.
Then the last thing I wanted to discuss is that we got a request from the Mancos Trail Group, and what they're asking for is support from the county as a pass-through agent for a GOCO grant to help them develop trails up in that Aqueduct Trail Park just north of Mancos. So this is kind of one of those where, we've been working on the Paso Mesa Verde. One of the objectives of that trail is to provide access to places like Aqueduct. So I would say that there is a nexus here on that. We're considering also applying for the same pot of money for some of the Paso Mesa Verde. So I think coordinating with the Mancos Trails Group is really important. I would say that, I'd like to listen to their proposal and have them bring it to the commissioners if this is something that seems reasonable. Maybe it's a time that we could support them and work for that pass-through. And I'm certainly happy to help them work on this too, if that's where the commissioners would like to go.
James, do you know in that grant if there's capacity to cover administrative costs if we're to be the pass-through agent on that?
I would say there is no capacity for that.
Okay.
So this would be something I would just have to add to my workload and primarily do the paperwork on it. I'm a little concerned, that we may have to do the contracting and things like that. That carries an extra burden and also extra liability for the county. But again, I would like to hear the proposal and
sure.
It could be
bring them in,
consider.
bring them to a workshop, and we can listen to a proposal.
Okay, very good.
Okay.
Okay, gentlemen, that concludes my report. I've been just, working with the economic development team and, a variety of other things as they come in the door too, so.
Thanks, James.
All right, very good. Thank you, sir. All right, Shaq, we'll move into your report.
Okay, thank you, commissioners. I'm sure Chairman Candelaria is going to talk about our time at CCI. Rob covered Alkali Creek. We covered the grow domes. We did get a date for the board-to-board with the city council. That will be next Tuesday evening at 6:30 for the city of Cortez board-to-board.
Make sure you send us an invite for that.
Yeah, I will, with the public notice attached. So And then I want to bring the commission up to speed. There's an opportunity on the east end of Cortez for the hotel group that owns the Holiday Inn Express to, they're at the end of their current contract with the chain, and they're looking at a property improvement plan, which would either upgrade or downgrade the property at the Holiday Inn Express. The hotel is located within the city limits of Cortez. The reason that it's important to the county is, first of all, obviously we prefer upgrades instead of downgrades. The negative connotation is if the hotels on the east end of Cortez start slipping and they start downgrading those, there becomes the potential years down the road for them to be more like what we see on South Broadway. I don't think anybody's interested in seeing that, but what they're looking at is trying to get more resort luxury type clients in, and so doing upgrades to the property that would involve stuff like that. They're asking for the county's support in that, and the economic development team is helping to put together a package for them. It wouldn't be financial support, I will say that up front. But there's some upgrades that they're wanting to propose to their investors, and they'd like to see community support for it. And in exchange, they are willing, if it's upgraded, to carry the torch moving forward on the property tax, and the lodgers that are involved in that have said that they would be willing, not a property tax, sorry, a sales tax. They would be willing to champion that, which of course the commissioners cannot use county tax dollars to advocate for or against. So I want to bring that to your attention. So the economic development group is putting together a package for them, and it's likely they'll be bringing a letter of support for the program to you all for signatures.
Okay. Very good.
And I think that concludes my report.
All right.
I've already covered everything else.
Very good. Thank you, Shaq. All right, Commissioner's report to my left today.
Since we didn't have a meeting last week, after I attended the rest of the Mancos town meeting a couple weeks ago when we were all present with the board-to-board, couple different things they were discussing as far as their land use around the town and stuff, and some of the things that's going on there. I've been spending quite a bit of time on this NCA and the meetings, me and Ian both, and hopefully we've got that all done, but other than that, not a whole lot going on. We have the rodeo coming up this week. It'll take up quite a bit of my time, so I'll be involved with that for them to have the rodeos this week.
Okay, very good. Thank you.
Yeah, not much to report. Apologize for not being here 2 weeks ago, but had to put my little head on the pillow for a while. But it wasn't pleasant. Other than that, I don't have much to report. A lot of contacts and phone calls and talking to people, but that's about it.
Okay. I will go through mine very quickly because we have another meeting at 1 o'clock that I have to get to. Had a great CCI summer conference. A lot of issues that we dealt with. One of the best meetings that I went to was our Western District meeting that we had Thursday morning on the 2nd. Started at 8:45 and it went till noon. A lot of the bills that we talked about in there were House Bill 21-1271 as far as the planning for land banking and infrastructure, et cetera. I think that Shaq in his new position is going to be dealing with that. And most of these that I mentioned going forward. House Bill 22-1304, what's the allocation of the $40 million in that grant that is going to be out for counties, municipalities, so on and so forth. There's another one, 22-159, the revolving loan account, which was another $150 million that was put in there. And if I remember, Shaq, this has to be encumbered by 2024 and spent by 2027. Is that correct?
That is correct.
And then there's also SB 22-160, which is specific to mobile home park loan fund to create workforce housing and or affordable housing. So some pretty good opportunities out there as far as what's going on. Chris Lopez gave a real quick update on the Colorado Housing and Finance Authorities in that Western District meeting, and then we also heard from John Whitney from Senator Bennett's office. Yesterday we had our workshop, went over some concerns on the Dolores Norwood Road along with the Millwood Road and Chicken Creek Road with the local ranger Derek Padilla on the FERDA agreement. More to come as we go forward on that. We've already discussed our fairgrounds with our manager out there, Justin McGuire, and then we also discussed our bike trail easement that Ian brought forward, along with the NCA discussion, and dealt with some road issues over the phone, and it was a great week. Good summer conference. Just to remind you guys, all the rodeo is this weekend, and then we also have the NACO conference coming up here pretty quick too. So with that will conclude my report. Anything else for the good of the county, gentlemen?
Not at this time. Motion to adjourn.
Second.
Moved and seconded that we adjourn this June 7th meeting. All those in favor?
Aye.